Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Meiman, get a ghost rider at the beginning. Chapter 61. A group of people came to the big dark cloud, Elrios. The world is like a wasteland, full of ruined high-rise buildings, spaceships, and even some ancient buildings. Don't be surprised if you occasionally see a Tyrannosaurus Rex here, it must have been cut from some timeline. Not far away, a dark cloud with dragon-like lightning surrounding its body from time to time, Elrios was rolling. Come on, we'll cover you from behind. Roger said with a serious face, woo. He is joking, we will help you, come on. Old Loki covered Roger's mouth and turned to look at the duo with a smile. After saying goodbye, the old man who was a human fool left, and the two of them went up confidently. Only Roger and the Mahjong trio were left. Hey, I said. Man, are you sure they will succeed? If they can defeat that dark cloud, we can go out. Roger said. Looking at Loki, a man and woman who went to challenge the dark clouds in the distance, it turned out that he, Roger, felt that the 10,000-year-old Jong deliberately encouraged these two people to come forward to test. Because the other locusts were too afraid of death, no one was willing to enter Wu Yun's body. Finally, two stupid young people came here. It would be a pity not to take advantage of them. You know, all locusts, no matter which timeline they are in, have a common problem. They will never have anything to do with the word great. The two of them are a little different. Old Loki asked. I'm curious, what do you see in them? What do you think of them? Me, Roger pointed at himself. After the young and old Loki nodded affirmatively, Roger had no choice but to express his opinion. I'm very curious about that girl Loki's talent. If she possessed Loki the shirt, and then played an umbrella fight game with him. Roger looked at the old Loki with an expression that looked like he was exploring the truth of the universe. Tell me, is it a man who fell in love with a woman, or a woman who fell in love with a woman, and then he fell in love with himself? And he was possessed by someone. At that time, can she feel the touch of the body, and if so, is it considered double happiness? Woohoo, PFF, the young King Loki couldn't help but spit out the wine. Forgive him, he is still a boy, this kind of car is too dark, he has never thought about it. The crocodile looks at humans with contempt, its brain has nothing but reproduction. Let's not talk about the driving issue for now. I think they may need some help. Loki, a 1,000-year-old ginger, found that they seemed to be in a bit of difficulty. Because of the shirt Loki attracted Dark Cloud Elrios in front, and Sylvie took the opportunity at Dark Cloud's tail to possess him. But Dark Cloud seemed to have discovered something, and ignored the male Loki in front of him attacking it with a shotgun, turned around and chased the female Loki. Take out your motorcycle and let's go there. I'm going to get something next to Elrios to attract his attention. Old Loki said. Hey, you know, nonsense, if you can't be aware of your surroundings, you won't even know if you'll be eaten by Elrios one day. Roger took out his precious motorcycle and sat on it, followed by the 10,000-year-old ginger. You guys wait here, we'll come as soon as we go. It can be seen that the old Loki likes the young king and the crocodile Loki very much. Roger twisted the accelerator hard, and the motorcycle rushed out with the two of them flying. Halfway through the drive, the old Loki had closed his eyes, his hands were glowing with green light, and he was murmuring an unknown spell. Boom, boom, buildings rose up out of thin air, and marble-like floors even appeared on the road. The buildings are all glowing green, and each one is very realistic. From the windows to the doors, every pattern and every detail is no different from the real one. Whoa! Roger screamed, these were not shadows made of magic, but buildings that could be touched one by one. Is this your Loki's advanced projection spell? Master, please accept my disciple's bow. Shut up and don't interrupt my spellcasting. Soon, Dark Cloud Elrios was directly attracted by Asgard, an extremely huge city that appeared out of thin air. No longer obsessed with eating the couple of dogs and men, mosquito legs are not as comfortable as whales, and just when Elrios turned his head to Asgard, Sivir and Loki were holding hands and connected with each other. Heart. The two of them rushed towards the back of Elrios, intending to possess it. I said, man, it's not a big deal if you just conjure up a city for it to chew on. Why don't you just become a giant projection and fight with him? Roger looked at the dark cloud of Elrios, which was constantly eating away at Asgard. He felt that this was too frustrating, and he didn't fight back when he was beaten. Every time Helios opened his mouth and chewed it, the old Loki scattered the building he built to reduce the consumption of mana. However, the dark cloud was too big, and there were always some places it chewed. Do you think I don't want to? That dark cloud's magic hitting it is just like hitting a dog with meat. It's just giving food. I have an idea. I wonder if it will work. Roger thought of an idea. What can I do? The old Loki asked curiously. Like this. Well, then if you do this, we will work together, and give it a try. Are you sure it will work? Old Loki asked doubtfully. Okay, I'll give it a try anyway. Hey, look at me. Roger chuckled. He wanted to play big. He directly took out the big treasure that he had worked hard as a scavenger during this period, the Gundam robot. To be precise, it's a robot from an unknown civilization or timeline, and it's still a wreck. One hand is missing, the energy device is missing, a large piece of the head is missing, and there is a big hole in the body. However, this is not a problem, because Ghost Rider has a magical skill that no one can imitate so far. Evil Gundam, Evil Avenger, transform. Jumping onto the robot, Ghost Rider, who had recovered from indigestion and gastroenteritis discomfort, reappeared. The magical flames instantly covered the robot from its head to its feet, and the transformation was completed in an instant. No energy. It doesn't matter, we use mana as kinetic energy. Missing hands and feet. It doesn't matter, there is a 10,000-year mage who can create physical projections. Good guy, your abilities are so interesting. Compared with that Seaver, I will help you. The old Loki stood on the evil spirit mecha like Roger. Then he waved his hand, and a burst of green light appeared on his hand. The evil spirit Gundam's arms were instantly covered by blue projections, and all the damaged parts of his body were repaired. Even after repairing the missing parts of the Gundam, a layer of green armor was directly covered on the outside. The outside of the armor was surrounded by evil spirit fire. Green energy armor, coupled with a coat wrapped like flames. Why does the image look a bit weird? A wrecked Gundam was repaired by the 10,000-year wizard Loki and Roger together, turning it into a giant as big as Dark Cloud Helios. Brother, bring me a big sword, I can enchant it. Roger was in a great mood, and all the energy harvested by the clone was absorbed into the Ghost Rider. I had already practiced to the extreme, but after receiving such a huge wave of experience from others, I immediately upgraded. In the past, he could not enchant such a large Gundam robot, so Roger decided to give it a name. Just call it the Evil Avenger. How about this name? Anyway, he thinks it's quite handsome. Big sword. The big sword I made is as crispy as eating French fries. Even so, old Loki raised his hand and made a physical projection of the giant sword. Looking at the giant sword rising slowly from the ground, Roger directly controlled the Evil Avenger and picked up the sword. Then, enchantment, the blazing flames directly covered the sword, turning it into a flaming giant sword. Are you sure it's effective? This guy, before the old Loki could say anything, the Evil Avenger had already started running, almost knocking him out. Roger directly transferred the old Loki and himself to the head of the Evil Avenger, and the two of them controlled the Gundam and ran up to the dark cloud monster Helios. Helios, obviously shocked by this behemoth as big as himself, then rushed over with salivation, obviously invincible for too long, and directly regarded the Evil Avenger as a walking cake. Brother, sit still, I'm going to do it. Roger licked his dry lips. Not counting the pseudo-Gundam that fought the clone last time, it was less than 10 meters tall. Right now, this Evil Avenger is the real mecha. Although its body is broken, under the magical manipulation of magic, it has directly transformed into an existence that is no less than the dangerous wanderer in the Pacific Rim next door. Do dangerous wanderers have energy armor like ours? Is there a magic flame sword? It's just that he's not as handsome as me, okay. Under the control of Roger, the Evil Avenger stepped forward with his huge feet and faced him directly. There was a huge pit on the ground when his huge feet stepped on it. Every time you step on the ground, there will be waves of earthquakes. Compared to the weightless dark cloud monster Helios floating in midair, the movement of the Evil Avenger can be described as shaking the earth. Fake, how did they create such a big scene? The young King Loki murmured in the distance. He was holding the crocodile, and the two of them were watching the battle. This battle simply refreshed their understanding. The old Loki showed what a 10,000-year-old ginger is. First, he projected an Asgard, and then Roger took out a wrecked Gundam. Then the two people didn't know how to discuss it, and directly repaired the Gundam with magic enchantment. It looked quite good looking, and then they rushed over to fight with Helios like this. The evil Avenger rushed in front of Helios, and Helios opened his big mouth of the dark cloud and bit into the evil Avenger. But under Roger's control, he slid sideways and dodged perfectly, and then the big sword made a big gash on the side of its body. Then he made a perfect turn and stood upright, with the sword in front of him. See, I told you, spells and substances, these attacks are ineffective against it. Old Loki said helplessly. Because the projection sword held by the evil spirit Avenger at this moment seemed to have just been inserted into sulfuric acid. It was directly corroded to a terrible state. It was obviously eaten by Helios' body. No, it's somewhat useful. Look at its body. Roger pointed to the place where it had just been cut. Although the dark cloud monster Helios has no physical body and the wound was healed the moment it was cut open, but you can vaguely see a dent clearly appearing in a cloud of dark clouds. It can be seen that the knife just now was somewhat useful. Spiritual fire is useful. Good guy, your flame is really special. When we come again, don't rush into it without stopping, otherwise I will teleport and escape. Old Loki said. When it comes to survival and escape, Loki is a professional. No one can surpass him. Long-distance teleportation is not possible, but short-distance teleportation and escape is still no problem when being bitten. This was also the reason why he agreed to fly Gundam with Roger. With a wave of his hand, green mana glowed out. After a while, the sword in the evil Avenger mecha's hand was repaired immediately. And Roger stretched out his hand again, and the flames in the mecha's hand also extended to the giant sword, and it was another flaming giant sword like a skyscraper. BB. The huge fuselage once again stepped forward with its feet like a building, stepping on the ground and running like the earth was shaking. He came to Helios again, this time he turned around as he approached, and cut a deep gash in his back. Then when the other party was looking for someone, he stabbed it with a knife to bleed it. Unfortunately, the opponent's ability to swallow time and matter was too buggy, and the giant sword was already corroded after just 2 moves. Roger had no choice but to turn his head and look at old Loki. The other party rolled his eyes and cast a spell again in tacit understanding, restoring the giant sword to its original shape. Feeling that his majestic 10,000 years mage was equivalent to the nuclear power source of Gundam for Roger. Roger once again controlled the evil Avenger and rushed forward. This time when he was approaching, he turned over in the air and stabbed the opponent in the eye with a sword in midair. Sure enough, this guy's eyes are not a weakness at all, Roger murmured, because the stabbed eye just blinked and recovered. In other words, this dark cloud monster has no brain. Now I have a headache. How can I kill it without a brain and heart? Moreover, the opponent is immune to both physical and magic, so the damage from my evil spirit fire seems to be only a little bit, not much. They seem to have succeeded. Old Loki suddenly spoke. It turned out that when they were fighting Dark Cloud Helios, the male and female Loki, hand in hand, directly possessed the back of Dark Cloud and got in like a parasite. The next step was that they kept bickering inside with a big black man who claimed to be the mutated time administration. In the end, the female Loki Seaver was ruthless enough. No matter what the other party said, she just wanted to kill this person. For this reason, she did not hesitate to do it with Loki Shirt, who had a physical relationship with her. When he thought about being hunted by them as a butterfly that affected the timeline since he was a child, Seaver's hatred for this time administration was comparable to that of his father-killing enemy. In the end, Shirt Loki, who had just fought together, was sent to prison with a time device and imprisoned, and then the old black man was killed with a sword. Roger and the old Loki who were outside found that Dark Cloud Helios was motionless. Dark Cloud Helios, motionless. Old Loki and Roger looked at each other. It seems they succeeded, Roger said. It's not a success, it's already a success. Let's go down and have a look. Old Loki said. After releasing the transformation of the evil Avenger, the wreckage of the Gundam looked a lot more broken. Roger put the Gundam away distressedly and studied how to use magic to repair robots another day. The big dark cloud Helios did not move, and his originally bright eyes were closed, as if he was sleeping, and all that was left at the scene was a dark cloud. Haha, victory, the Gundam mecha defeated the dark cloud monster. "Oh yeah," Roger yelled, just saying, Ollie is given. In fact, if the fight continues, Roger will have no choice but to run away. It weighs tens of thousands of tons. Roger doesn't know the exact weight. Anyway, he doesn't have a scale, but it is very difficult to use the enchantment ability of Ghost Rider to assimilate such a big guy. It's strenuous. Basically, the amount of mana consumed in 1 second is an astronomical amount. Roger feels that in no more than 10 minutes, he will run away due to excessive mana consumption. It's a bit like Ultraman. If you can't beat him for a few minutes, you'll be cool. But, haha, it smells so good. Tisk, tisk, it seems that Dark Cloud Helios has really been defeated by them, we can go out. Old Loki said with tisk, but found Roger on the side looking at him with contempt. Who said just now that this is my home? I don't plan to go out in this life. He clearly didn't want to take risks in the dark clouds with that couple, so he immediately changed his tune after seeing them deal with the dark clouds. Ahem, after all, the young king and the crocodile are both young and cannot die of old age here. By the way, they have waited long enough. Let's go back to find them, and then go back to our respective timelines together. Roger didn't look down on him anymore. After all, he was old, so he should save some face and respect his age. He took out his motorcycle, got on the motorcycle with old Loki again, and drove in the direction of King Loki and the crocodile. Along the way, Roger was wondering how he could exchange his special skills with the other party. Needless to say, advanced projection spells, this thing was more powerful than all kinds of miscellaneous clones in anime. It is a top-notch clone technique that will not disappear even after death. It leaves an identical corpse on the spot. Even Thanos, the purple sweet potato spirit, cannot distinguish it, let alone Thanos' subordinates at the scene. With this spell, if you put on a character's skin, you will become a real clone. From now on, you won't be afraid of being investigated even if you rob the Federal Reserve. Not to mention that he also has other special skills, short-distance teleportation, and advanced spells to create a real city projection. These Roger want to change. What should I do? I wonder if he will agree to teach me if he kneels a few times. Brother, can I discuss something with you? Roger asked carefully. No, the principle of the mage is equal exchange. If you want my projection spell, you have to exchange it for something of the same value. As if he knew what Roger wanted to say, the aged Loki interrupted him before he could speak. The seller's market is so willful. Coming to the young Loki and crocodile, they have been waiting for a long time. Now the biggest stumbling block is gone. With Loki's ability, it is not difficult to escape from this world at the end of time and return to their respective worlds. Done. Roger made a decision. Many treasures could not be exchanged for his own strength and were completely worthless. Brother, you were right, equal exchange, I want to exchange your spells. Roger said seriously. Oh, yes, take it out. Roger thought for a moment and took out the magic mirror he had received as a reward from his first novice village. Wouldn't it be better to exchange it with old Loki in exchange for the opportunity to improve his own strength? As for whether old Loki was trapped in there and couldn't get out, or whether he had a clone, it had nothing to do with him at that time. Because the first is that the magic runes on the magic mirror have been damaged in several places and are no longer as stable as before. The second is that this mirror is useless to Roger now. He didn't plan to live in it for the rest of his life, and because of his lack of knowledge, he couldn't repair the mirror. An unusable treasure was like worthless. Roger guessed that maybe it was created by an apprentice mage of a certain Karma Taj. After the other party learned the magic of the mirror space, but could not release it because of his physical talent, a genius-like idea was born. Use magic materials, and then engrave the spells of the mirror space on the magic mirror, and scientific experiments will never succeed the first time. The inventor discovered that the magic mirror he invented did not lead to the mirror space, but to a dimension similar to the mirror space. In this dimension, he can manipulate the laws inside at will, twist various buildings, and create a city with a snap of his fingers, just like Karma Taj's ancient. But unfortunately, the other party may have been delayed inside for too long because of the experimental spell. A copy of the dimension appeared and replaced him in reality, causing him to disappear directly in the magic mirror and never come back. After many years, the magic mirror went directly to Sally's grandfather's house, and finally to Roger's hands. To put it bluntly, the runes on the magic mirror are Kamataj's mirror space spell. There are many geniuses in the world, but unfortunately only those blessed by luck and talent can survive to the end, and most geniuses always die halfway. The maker of the magic mirror was the genius who died young. It seems that Tony's nemesis, Death Whip, is also a genius scientist at the same level as him. Haha, I guessed it a long time ago. You must take it with you, but this is not enough. I have the full version of projection spells and teleportation. You can only choose one of the two. Old Loki said cheerfully. It's not that I'm bargaining, but that this mirror of yours is damaged and there's no instruction manual yet. Not only do you have to repair it yourself, but you also need me to slowly figure out how to use it. If the runes above were not mirror magic, they would be worth a junior version of projection spell at most. So, brother, make your choice, which one do you want to change? Roger thought about it carefully and realized that teleportation was definitely the best skill for escaping. However, Loki's spell was about short-distance teleportation. In terms of value comparison, projection spell was more suitable for him. Because Gundam is so fragrant, with it, I don't have to worry about the evil Avenger dragging his stumps and broken arms into fights. Also, in the future, it would be nice to use projection magic to transform into several young ladies in bikinis, giving me back massages. In fact, old Loki must know a lot of magic, but for now, Roger can't afford it. I've decided, just change to the complete version of the projection spell, don't give me the entire incomplete version. Roger said. The old Loki looked at the magic mirror with a smile and nodded happily. Of course, I'm almost buried. If you can learn my spells, I can count as having a legacy. Buried, even if you are about to be buried, you can still live for thousands of years. Roger rolled his eyes. If you believe in the immortal race, you will be buried first. Even though Loki is not Odin's biological child, the Frost clan is also a race with a very long lifespan, especially since they grew up in Asgard and ate countless precious treasures from heaven and earth. Brother, you don't know how to teach me how to be 40% true and 60% false. After receiving old Loki's spell, Roger was still worried. He would definitely not be so honest if he judged others by himself. If it were him, he would 100% blend in. Old Loki was also choked by Roger's words and didn't know how to answer. My old man is about to be buried. Why did I lie to you? Do you still have this skill and take it to the grave? You can learn it as long as you can. If you can't learn it, come to me at any time. Roger looked at the other party suspiciously. He had learned the basic projection spell he had traded a few days ago, but the advanced full version he was given now could not be learned at a glance. It would take some time. I am afraid that by the time I learn it, the opponent will have disappeared. You must know that if the magic secret book is wrong by even 1 point, it will lead to madness. If the old ginger Loki gives it water, it will be in trouble. King Loki on the side waited for them to trade for a long time before asking, did they succeed? Ah, yes, those go, they succeeded. It seems that after possessing them, they got into the dark clouds and killed the founder of that bureau. We can leave. The passage has been opened now. Roger pointed at the dark clouds, and he could vaguely see a space-time channel in the dark clouds. And without any obstacles, it would be too easy for the Locust to escape with their abilities. Let's go, let's get out of here quickly and grab a time control device to avoid being caught by them again. The young king was overjoyed and could finally go back to his own Asgard. Hiss, the crocodile was also filled with joy. It couldn't forget the large group of female crocodiles in its own country, and it didn't know how many eggs it had laid. Roger rolled his eyes. Good guy, in front of that couple, he swore that this was his home. Where are the people who won't go anywhere? This group of locusts is indeed very bad. They are all waiting for them to lead the way and explore the way to be cannon fodder. Let's go. After a while, President Rocky and those fools will also find out. So a few people started to pack up and headed to the passage in Wuyun Ilios's body. There is nothing to pack up. Every Loki will have a dimensional storage space to take with him. This is their innate spell. Even Thor does not know the dimensional storage spell. There was nothing to say. 3 people and 1 crocodile passed through the passage smoothly. After the female Loki Seaver defeated the master of Ilios, she didn't know where she went. Roger and others quietly came to the Time Variation Management Bureau. Loki, who had not been put in the magic forbidden netcuffs, would not have an easy time here. Just when the entire Time Management Bureau was in chaos, Roger and the others had already knocked out a team, then stripped off their clothes and put them on, prepared to escape. How does this thing work? Is it similar to a time machine? Roger played with a small remote control. This was the machine they used to travel through time and space. It looks like a mobile phone, but it turns out to be a machine for them to travel through time. There are several types of equipment for these people. The first type is of course the netcuffs, which directly seal all a person's abilities, and then escape to the ends of the earth. The other person can send you back with a press of the controller. There is also an electric shock baton, which can crop a person and adjust the time. The person hit will slow down like a snail. Finally, there is a time reset grenade, which can only be opened after cutting off the person who instigated the timeline, and is used to reset the timeline of that world. I don't know what the world will be like after I'm gone. By the way, why don't these weaklings have guns? Roger really couldn't figure it out. What was even more outrageous was that he could capture so many people without a gun. Ahem, I don't count myself. I wasn't feeling well at the time. Then let's say goodbye and go back to our respective homes, old Loki said. Others also nodded, each holding a tablet like a mobile phone, and then began to press buttons to travel through time and space. Hey, I don't know how to use this yet. Is there an instruction manual? Roger said quickly. You'll know after you try a few times. After saying this, the old Loki chuckled and walked directly into a time and space gate, returning to his own world. Regardless, Roger looked at it and saw that there was no electrical grid or anything like that on it. He didn't know if it needed to be charged. Following their example, he clicked casually, opened a space-time door, and then Roger walked in. Roger had a hunch that he would meet them again in the future, because ever since the shit guy from a certain timeline created a quantum space travel timeline, the entire Marvel universe had become a mess and turned into a multi-dimensional time and space. Here is, surrounded by high-rise buildings, countless neon lights are flashing brightly, and modern cars are constantly shuttling in the middle of the road, telling Roger that this is a modern city, and it is already night. Among the people constantly coming and going around, there are Asian faces and voices from time to time. Roger looked up and saw young ladies wearing miniskirts walking coolly on the street from time to time, showing off their long, white legs without reservation. It's so hot. Is this JD? She is fair-skinned, beautiful and has long legs. Adding the phrase, aim, you were right. Roger scratched his head. What should he do? He played cards with a few locusts and lost all the banknotes, and he had to go to the bank to exchange US knives for Japanese yen. I looked around and just happened to see a group of delinquent youths with colorful hair passing by. Roger's eyes lit up. Yes. Walking into an alley, I pinched the skin of a character tremblingly. After a while, a beautiful girl exuding exotic aura appeared. Hey, handsome guy over there, can you do me a favor? A hoarse voice came from the entrance of the alley. Hey, Yamamoto-kun, look over there. A red-haired young man pulled his companion and pointed to an alley not far away. SKUY. What a kawaii beauty. She seems to need help. Let's go there. Hello, beautiful lady, do you need help? A green-haired man drooled, almost putting the word on his head. I lost my wallet. It's so dark inside that I can't see it. Can you help me find it? Said the perfect girl and even gave a group of gangsters a wink. Good. I'm the best at finding things. Baga, don't grab it, I'll go first. Let me help you, beautiful lady. A group of bad boys rushed into the alley to help the poor girl find her wallet. As for whether to ask for reward after helping, it depends on whether the other party cooperates. Baga, help, ba. After a while, a man counted 10 wallets in his hand and walked out of the alley happily. Thank you guys for helping me find my wallet. Hey, you are so enthusiastic. I even helped find 10 of them, but I was disrespectful. He took out all the banknotes inside, and then looked at some driver's licenses and student ID cards in the wallet. After thinking about it, he still kept them. Next, let's go have a drink. When you come to the island country, why not experience the unique life here? Neon is so hot that girls of all sizes wear cool and comfortable suits, especially some uniforms, which are easy to change at any time. There are 3 major happy streets: Neon Shinjuku, Hokkaido's, and Fukuoka's Nakashu. Anyone who has been there will understand. Today, Roger came to one of them. The girls here were very enthusiastic. As soon as he arrived at the door, there were a lot of people vying to invite Roger to come in and experience it, and they even offered discounts. Maybe it's because of their appearance. Rather than entertaining some middle-aged men and white-collar workers, they prefer to receive a handsome young brother. In the end, I couldn't resist the young lady's enthusiasm and entered one of the custom shops. Welcoming a distinguished guest, a man in his 30s, wearing a suit and leather shoes, shouted enthusiastically, "Oni-chan, are you from abroad? Is this your first time here?" A kawaii girl in a kimono happily hugged Roger's arm, and her chest was deeply close to Roger, like a green little apple, although not big, but firm and natural. This is the first client she has received today. Sometimes a good day starts with meeting a handsome guy. Ahem, it doesn't count. In my dreams, I have been here thousands of times. You know, I looked back thousands of times in my previous life before meeting in this life. And the meeting between you and me is a fate arranged by God. Hee, Oni-chan has such a sweet mouth, he must be very good at tricking girls. I've learned all the tricks, but when I met you, it was real. The 2 of them just walked into the room, holding hands and leaning on each other. Cough cough. Don't get me wrong, custom shops are not allowed to sell girls, because it is illegal, at least on the surface. If you are caught in a police raid by the island country's police, you will definitely be in trouble. Of course, in private, if the 2 parties are attracted by the fool, they fall in love with each other, and go to the hotel to have a one-night romance after work. That is personal free love. Not illegal. You can scold Neon for being both a female cousin and a lover of archways, but on the surface at least there is no problem, and they will never tolerate the infringement of minors. Therefore, there are also many college students who are short of money and work part-time in regular store. In short, any shop that can be opened openly on the street is a regular custom shop, in order to relieve the pressure on social workers as a whole and reduce the mortality rate of suicide people. Custom shops actually have many projects besides breeding, but unfortunately they are not available here. Because this is a high-end store, there are only emotional comfort items and massages. Of course, the charges are high because the girl has good looks and doesn't smell like seafood. It's not impossible for those who want to be a bit unscrupulous, they have to go to the next few streets, but Roger doesn't like those places, so he's a picky eater. Okay, put it on top a little bit, yes, use force, feel comfortable. Under the dim light, this girl named Yuriko has a rosy complexion, skin like cream, and a little baby fat. Her skirt flies up when she raises her hands and feet, revealing her 2 slender legs. He was standing on the bed, stepping on Roger's back vigorously. The girl's bare feet, coupled with her gentle weight, were just right on her back. Oni-chan, there are so many people, why did you choose me? Yuriko asked curiously after stepping on her back for a long time, because she was not the most beautiful among the group of people, but this little brother in front of her just happened to be the most beautiful one. Pick her, no one else will. Because, I fell in love with you at first sight. Roger squinted his eyes and said with a sly smile, and started talking about love. Hee, even though I know that Oni-chan is cheating on Yuriko, Yuriko is also very happy. How long will you like me? The girl asked mischievously. You asked me this question in a previous life. Ah, Oni-chan, you must be very troublesome if you are so good at coaxing girls. I really care, because I like every look of you. Hee, glib tongue. Oh, Yuriko, do you want to come over and have a taste? The young girl Yuriko was so touched by Roger's series of flirtatious words that her face turned red and she was at a loss. She didn't know how to reply. This was completely different from what she had been trained to do, which was usually to comfort the social animals in the workplace and then listen to them cry about their unfortunate experiences. But today I met a little brother who told all kinds of lies. Although she knew that the other party was teasing her, she was extremely happy. An hour later, Roger fell asleep in a daze. In the world at the end of time, he never slept peacefully. After all, he couldn't be careful when he was with Loki. If you sleep outdoors, you are afraid of being eaten by dark clouds. If you sleep in a basement, you are afraid of being eaten by locusts. If you don't eat well and sleep well, if you weren't in good health, you would have met the devil. Now listening to soft music, with a sweet-smelling girl helping to relax his muscles, Roger, who was lying on the bed, naturally fell asleep. Oni-chan, Oni-chan, a sweet girl's voice called softly. What to do? The little brother fell asleep, and Yuriko was a little confused for a moment. She had never encountered a customer sleeping in a custom shop before, and the store manager was not trained on what to do in this situation. Yuriko, who had nothing to do, finally didn't know what to do, so she sat by the bed and watched her little brother sleep. Hee, I'm drooling. He took out a tissue and wiped Roger's saliva. I'm so sleepy, I really want to touch your conscience and sleep. A confused Roger muttered such a sentence to himself, but unfortunately Yuriko didn't hear it clearly. Hey, what did Oni-chan say? It seems to be in Chinese. Finally, Yuriko yawned. Night is a time that makes people sleepy, but having nothing to do makes it easier for people to feel sleepy. Unknowingly, the girl fell asleep lying next to the bed. Store manager, Yuriko has been in there for several hours, will something happen? A clerk said to a man in his 30s. Oh, that's it, I'll go take a look. The man came to the room, knocked on the door, and shouted. Yuriko inside immediately woke up, got up, wiped her saliva, and responded. It's a rule that you can't cross the line in a custom shop, but it doesn't matter if you fall in love in private. Ah, guest, you're awake. Yuriko discovered that Roger was already awake. Well, I just woke up. Thank you so much. I feel like my body has recovered a lot. Ah. Roger stood up and stretched, and the bones in his body crackled. Okay, I'm leaving. Well, I still prefer you to call me Oni-chan. Feeling a little hungry, Roger wanted to go out and experience the island country's cuisine, so he lowered his head and said to Yuriko. Are you busy lately? If not, let's fall in love. Ah, Yuriko, who was caught off guard, blushed slightly at Roger's confession. Guest, shish, call me Oni-chan, do you have a boyfriend? Roger raised the other person's chin and said. If not, would you mind changing it to another one? If there is one, would you mind changing it to another one? If not, would you mind adding another one? This. Roger took out one of his wallets, emptied all the money and handed it to the other person. Okay, I'm joking with you, don't mind, I have to leave, see you next time, Yuriko. After saying that, Roger got up and went out. It was impossible not to pay him, so of course he had to pay and leave. Just when Roger paid the bill and was about to leave, a beautiful figure walked past him, then blushed, lowered his head, quickly stuffed a small note into his hand and ran away, leaving a girlish look on the spot. Body scent. Haha, please go slowly. Welcome to visit us next time. The store manager looked at this scene ambiguously. Well, okay, thank you for the treat. After leaving the house, Roger discovered a major problem. He didn't seem to be able to read Japanese. Sorry, I opened the small piece of paper and saw that it was full of Chinese characters. As a poor student, I had never learned a foreign language in my previous life. I learned English after traveling for many years, and I slowly understood English newspapers after harvesting many souls. As for, I can't understand it at all, but I can communicate and understand it only after watching too many anime and adult movies. Roger scratched his head, wondering if it would be too embarrassing to find someone to translate. No matter what, let's find a place to have a meal first, eat and drink enough, and then plan other things. I took a look at the food street, sushi. I don't like that thing, because I'm afraid there are residual parasites in it and I won't be able to eat it cleanly. Forget eel rice, let's go check out ramen. I found a small shop called Earl Ramen and smelled it. The aroma in the air was pretty good. Welcome distinguished guests. As soon as I entered the door, I heard a loud voice shouting. In addition, there was a young woman and a naughty child helping in the store. It seems that this is a mom and pop shop. The male owner works as a chef, the female owner works as a waiter, and the children help run errands. Roger took a look at the menu and only recognized a few Chinese characters on it, but he couldn't understand them all together. Ahem, boss, let me have a bowl of your signature ramen. I want a big portion. Okay, big portion of tonkatsu ramen, please take a seat." After a while, a large bowl of steaming tonkatsu ramen was served. "Well, SKUY, Roger took a taste and gave the boss a thumbs up. It was much more delicious than Japanese tonkatsu instant noodles. When the boss saw this, he smiled happily. The customers were satisfied, which was an affirmation of his cooking skills. "Boss, give me a few more bowls of ramen, and give me some of your other flavors of ramen," Roger shouted while eating frantically. In the world at the end of time, there will be no good food to eat, and animals with weird bodies will not be eaten casually. I eat canned food every day, but it is really difficult to eat freshly cooked, steaming food. Several big and small Rockies, including Roger himself, are not chefs. Expecting Roger, a man who has been single for many years and has never cooked, to cook delicious food is not as good as a sow climbing a tree. Under the surprised looks of the boss and his wife, Roger finished 10 bowls of ramen one after another. After Roger had eaten, he was hesitating whether to ask his boss to read the note when a loud alarm suddenly sounded outside the door. Woo! A series of extremely rapid sirens sounded from all around. Roger looked confused. Could it be an earthquake? When the boss and his family heard this voice, their expressions suddenly changed, their expressions became extremely ugly, and they stopped doing business. He shouted to his wife a few times in his native dialect, and then ran outside with his children. "Boss, what's wrong? There was no earthquake. Hey, the money hasn't been confiscated yet." Not only did the boss leave, but other customers also dropped their half-eaten ramen and fled outside, as if there was a war going on outside. Roger, seeing that the other party ran away without taking the money, Roger simply finished eating before leaving. He walked to the kitchen table, added a few more pieces of meat himself, and started to feast directly. Dong dong dong. While Roger was still feasting, the little boy hurriedly ran back without saying a word, rushed directly into the house to find the 2 dolls, and then escaped again to seek refuge. When he got to the door, he realized that Roger hadn't left yet. "Hey, why don't you leave? If you don't leave, you will be eaten." "Then why are you back? Aren't you afraid of being eaten if you leave later?" Roger became interested. "My name is Tai. I can't leave Tai and Agumon behind. This is my courage." The naughty boy raised his hand and gestured to the doll in his hand. Roger took a closer look and saw 2 figures, one with a hedgehog head and a small Tyrannosaurus Rex. He seemed to have some impression, but it was too long and he couldn't remember which anime it was from. "Ahem, what do you mean by eating?" It's a man-eating monster." Quote, "Dong dong dong." Before Roger could ask for details, a delicate young woman anxiously appeared at the door. "Tai, you kid, why are you back? Let's go quickly and get to the air raid shelter." "Mom, I can't leave Agumon and Taichi behind. They will protect us." "Hey, you kid, let's go quickly." Boom, boom. Waves of huge vibrations kept coming, and he was violently shaken. The ceiling above his head sprinkled some dust from time to time, and Roger couldn't eat his ramen. Looking up again, this naughty kid who wanted his handiwork at the expense of his life had been taken away by his mother. "Hey, let's go out and take a look. I always have a bad feeling." Roger had a hunch that the timeline he came to was definitely not his original world. Who knows where the time controller took him to? When he came outside, Roger discovered that there were people fleeing everywhere, and on the LED screen on the street, the female host was saying something anxiously. Before Roger could hear clearly, the power was cut off. Ow! At this moment, an extremely loud sound came, directly shattering all the glass of the surrounding high-rise buildings. Roger's ears were almost deafened by this. There were many people around him who were like him or even worse than him. They were knocked unconscious by the roar, and some even had their ears bleeding. After looking at the swaying people all over the street, Roger raised his head and said, "Hey guys, there's no need to look for them anymore." Because a huge black shadow appeared directly in the city, with a body that was as huge as tens of thousands of tons. Every time he took a step, there was a footprint. Every time he stepped on the ground, it was like an earthquake for the tiny human beings. Tai, where are you?" a young woman shouted anxiously. She and her son had just been dispersed by the crowd. Finally, in the crowd, she saw a child holding a figure, and she hurriedly ran over and hugged her child tightly, for fear of being swept away. "That's great, kid, you're fine. The little boy stared blankly at his mother's back, and tugged on his mother's sleeves. Boom! At some point, the huge shaking sound stopped, and Tai's mother carefully followed her child's gaze and looked back. In the dark night, a huge behemoth figure was standing in front of them, and they could even feel the huge stench exhaled from the behemoth's mouth. This can't be Ultraman's world, Roger muttered to himself as he looked at the giant beast in the distance. Ah, the giant beast probably saw that there were two small humans in the middle and did not run away. It roared directly, raised its huge paw and stepped on it. It feels like humans sometimes see a cockroach in the middle of the road and step on it. Ah, the young woman screamed and hugged her child hard. It wasn't that she didn't want to run, but she had just been stunned by the roar of the giant beast. She had difficulty moving, coupled with fear, her hands and feet were so weak that she couldn't run. Ow! It is an extremely huge beast, the same height as a skyscraper, and its body reaches tens of thousands of tons, but a skyscraper of the same height as it is like a house on the beach in its hands. A single blow can shatter skyscrapers that took humans years to build. With just one kick, a deep hole can be made in the concrete road built by human beings. He opened his mouth and roared, and countless buildings and glass walls that consumed countless resources were shattered. This is the power of the giant beast. Once the body reaches a height, it is completely beyond the imagination of humans. What's even more terrible is the structure of its body. In order to support this weight, the density of bones and muscles is very strong. Only in this way can it be ensured that it will not be crushed by its own weight, but instead walk as fast as flying. Due to its huge body and extremely dense muscle tissue, human bullets hitting its body will not feel at all. Even if a tank shell hits it, it's like scratching an itch. At most, the skin will be broken, but it won't be considered an injury. Only powerful missiles can cause it a certain amount of damage. However, the giant beast is not a brainless beast, and humans can hide from it. Every time they encounter human beings belatedly arrived modern mechanical troops, the giant beasts will either use high-rise buildings as bunkers or flee directly, which makes human beings extremely helpless. What? Tai's mother hugged him and screamed at the top of her lungs, because the giant beast was going to trample both mother and son into flesh in the next second. The huge soles of the feet also give people the feeling of being unable to dodge. No matter how many steps you take, you can't run as fast as one. When the body is extremely huge, each step is a terrifyingly long distance. Boom! There was a huge collision, and the imagined death did not come. Instead, the son in his arms pulled his sleeves and shouted excitedly. Mom, look, Ultraman is here to save us. No, it's Engelman, no, it's like a robot, so cool. Tai's mother opened her eyes carefully, but she was stunned the next second. Because a huge creature stood directly in front of her mother and son, which was why they were not trampled to pieces. Now I'm going to do it now. At some point, a roadside store just played a Digimon theme song. The impassioned voice in the song was singing loudly, as if an adventure was about to begin. The huge mecha was full of magical aura, with yellow flames spurting out from the mechanical gaps all over its body. It looked like a giant burning with flames. This giant robot, which coexists magic and technological beauty, is the evil Avenger. Tai looked at the robot in front of him excitedly. Isn't this the same Ultraman as in the movie? It just looks a little different, but it doesn't matter, it's still cool. I don't know if it was his imagination, but the Gundam robot seemed to smile at himself. This robot, as huge as a giant beast, stood in front of the mother and son like a mountain, making the naughty child Tai no longer feel afraid. Bah! The evil Avenger, an extremely huge iron fist, hit the giant beast directly on the head. The metal fist hit the high-density flesh and blood body, but it only knocked the opponent back instead of directly hitting the head. Is it possible that the evil Avenger's fist is hollow and the weight level is not enough? Roger murmured. The giant beast looked at this thing as huge as itself in confusion. Where did it come from? Before he could react, he was punched on the head one after another by the opponent, and was knocked unconscious. This city was built near the sea, so Roger simply lured the opponent to the beach for a duel before he could react to avoid hurting innocent people. After all, I am still a human being no matter what. From a human perspective, I must give priority to fighting monsters. Huge loud noises spread throughout the city from time to time. I don't know when, but people who are not afraid of death are already taking pictures with various photographic equipment. The giant beast was beaten dizzy by the evil Avenger. It lost every move and every move. Roger was not the protagonist on TV, so he would give it a breather. The evil Avenger grabbed its tail with its huge palm, flew it several times in the air, and threw it directly into the DJ Bay. Boom! After an earth-shattering loud noise, a stormy sea broke out in the DJ Bay. A huge tsunami formed instantly and pounced directly on the ships on the shore. The evil Avenger ran with human-like agility, jumped halfway up, then turned somersaults in midair, and stepped directly on the giant beast with both feet handsomely. Click! The sound of bones breaking came from the giant beast's body, and the severe pain also woke it up, and it fell directly into a rage. Oh, what a pity. It would be great if old Jong was here. Not only can he make a nuclear battery, but he can also get me a green Susano armor and a big sword. Roger is still fighting with bare hands, because his little blue is completely inferior to that of old Loki. The other party has lived for 1 year and has as much magic power as a nuclear battery. How many years have you lived? Even after harvesting 3,000 sinful souls, the increased power is just enough to control this huge evil Avenger mecha, which is about the same as a power bank. You must know that this Gundam is a wreck. It is missing hands. I used advanced projection to get the arms out. There is no extra strength to make armor and sword. The giant beast fell into a rage, but Roger was helpless because its 2 back legs had been trampled off and it could not walk. Perhaps knowing that he might not survive, the giant beast bulged its belly and opened its mouth, not knowing what big move it was going to unleash. No, this guy wants to make a bigger move. Roger's expression changed. The evil Avenger rushed forward and punched the opponent directly in the stomach, knocking the beast away, turned over and hit the opponent with an elbow on the neck. Finally, when the giant beast was lying on the sea, he jumped up and hugged its neck with both hands, and twisted it hard. After a huge crack of bones breaking, the giant beast completely collapsed on the sea, like a puddle of mud. This battle lasted less than 10 minutes, and the evil Avenger won. The evil Avenger bent down and grabbed the behemoth's head. The opponent's eyes were still moving. It was obvious that the cervical spine was broken. The opponent was not dead yet, and the behemoth's vitality was so powerful. Eye of Judgment. After the giant beast was hit, its body began to catch fire. What Roger didn't expect was that the opponent's body was so huge, but the strength of his soul did not match it. He was weak and pitiful. Oh, it feels good. Like a newly born baby. If we describe it as a drink, the sinful soul is like happy fat house water, which tastes as good as ice and sugar. But the soul of this giant beast is greatly nourished. Although it is weak, it is very pure, like pure water. The giant beast whose weak soul was harvested by Roger soon died completely, probably because the soul dissipated too quickly and the body did not have time to turn into a mummy. Roger waved his hand and extinguished the evil spirit fire on the opponent's body. His soul was cut off, and it was meaningless whether his body was burned or not. The giant beast just lay in the shallow sea, its body shrunk by half, like a dried specimen. Buzz. At this time, the local military troops arrived belatedly. The first to arrive on the battlefield were armed helicopters and several fighter jets. At this time, less than 5 minutes had passed since the Battle of the Evil Avenger, and the giant beast had died. Captain, the giant beast is dead. There is a robot below. Is it from our country? The pilot in the helicopter asked excitedly. For the island country where anime is popular, a robot similar to Gundam appeared in reality, which made them excited. Wait, don't fire yet. Let's see what the opponent's next move is. I'll ask my superiors for instructions. The commander was also confused. Looking at the video footage on the line, he doubted whether such a robot really existed in their country. As an island native who grew up watching Ultraman and mecha anime, I am very familiar with this kind of giant. He hurriedly started calling the top management. If this giant was his country's secret weapon and was attacked by his order, then he wouldn't be allowed to perform a Caesarine section to apologize. Captain, the giant disappeared suddenly. Moses, what did you say? That giant robot disappeared. Roger was diving and swimming in the sea, and when he came ashore, he was cursing. 2. It really stinks. No wonder the athletes in the Olympics vomit. How dirty the seawater must be to be so smelly. He swore that he would never swim in the waters near the island country again, and he would not come even if he was beaten to death. It stinks to death. After landing on the shore, a feeling of comfort spread throughout my body. When I was a child, I had a dream of learning from Audiobook to fight monsters. Although I will not become a star when I grow up, I have achieved my goal of fighting monsters. The next step is to check, what kind of thing is this world? How come there are giant beasts appearing? Isn't it really the world of Altoman? Or Pacific Rim? Oops. Roger's expression changed drastically. He touched his pocket, took out a small piece of sticky paper, and then let out an inhumane cry. Ah, my little note. Early the next morning, the entire island country was full of news about the giant beast that attacked Kyoto last night. Since it was night, the photo was not particularly clear, but there was no doubt about the huge figure. The giant beast suddenly emerged from the sea and landed directly ashore. Although it only lasted for more than 10 minutes, it caused huge losses. This included damage to more than a dozen skyscrapers, 2 of which were directly scrapped. There were nearly 1,000 casualties, and the number of injured has not yet been counted. But the most eye-catching thing is the sudden appearance of a giant robot. Its huge body and appearance that coexist with magic and technology directly shine a light on the desperate people. Countless reporters gathered at the press conference, including some foreign media, and wanted to know whether the Gundam that suddenly appeared and killed the giant beast in a few minutes was their country's secret weapon. Baga, what do you want me to say? That Gundam is not ours. After we say it, what if other countries ask to visit it? Now the whole world is facing the threat of giant beasts. If we brag that we invented it ourselves, they will ask for a visit or let us hand it over. A middle-aged man in a suit was holding a phone at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and yelling that this press conference was going to kill people. Everyone hopes that the Gundam that defeated the monsters belongs to their country, but they have trouble saying that it is not at all, admitting where to find a giant robot for them. Don't you admit it? Only ghosts believe it. Why did your country happen to be the only one in the world? The news spokesman appeared on live TV with a sad face. Suddenly there was a burst of enthusiastic applause, which could not subside for a long time. Roger was eating breakfast depressedly and watching the TV news. He checked to see if this world looked like the timeline of Alto Man. Instead, it's a bit like Pacific Rim. Because a space-time wormhole also appeared in the sea, and monsters swam out of the hole. The difference is that there is no Gundam in this world yet, and monsters are basically killed by airplanes. The behemoth of flesh and blood is no match for humanity's industrial war machine. Is blood poisonous? It doesn't matter. Use powerful armor-piercing bullets, or add chemical toxins to the armor-piercing bullets, study the monster's genetic tissue, experiment, and then add some of the monster's most deadly toxins to the armor-piercing bullets, penetrate them into the monster's body, and then explode. As for environmental pollution, that's a joke. A giant beast is so big that it can pollute the entire planet. It's too small to underestimate the planet's purification ability. Moreover, every time humans are beaten, they will find ways to deal with the contaminated blood from the giant beast. As for whether it is environmentally friendly or not, wait until the giant beasts are exterminated and then you will have a headache. If civilization is destroyed, will you still care about environmental pollution? Obviously people in this world have more brains. They don't build high walls to defend against monsters, and they don't litter Big Ivan. Instead, they chose some of the most effective methods. As for whether behemoths will evolve resistance to toxicity, scientists say that bugs cannot evolve that fast, let alone a behemoth weighing tens of thousands of tons. The only troublesome thing is that the opponent seems to be intelligent. After being beaten and killed a few, he knows that he is fighting gorillas. Every time human planes arrive at the scene in large numbers, the opponent always escapes. Now the whole world is developing a kind of super sonar, hoping to detect the movements of giant beasts from the sea so that the Navy can deal with them in advance. The bigger the country, the longer the coastline, and it is impossible to defend such a long coastline. As the capital of an island country, it has always been guarded by warships and troops. Therefore, the long-term comfort makes them feel that the giant beast is unlikely to arrive, and they are careless. Yes, that Gundam is our country's secret weapon. In the news, the spokesperson said this with a constipated look on his face, and immediately there was intense applause. All the viewers watching TV outside also applauded excitedly. Nima, it's too early for you to be happy. I won't stay here forever. Roger looked at the spokesperson on TV who boasted about not drafting. The world is so big, and I can't teleport. What if a giant beast appears elsewhere? And the neon signs are not small. What about the giant beasts appearing in Okinawa and Hokkaido? Let me fly over. Boss, please order a large portion of tonkatsu ramen. Okay, please wait a moment, guest. Although they have just suffered a disaster, for the people at the bottom, they have to work hard and continue to open stores and do business. Survival is not easy. After the steaming hot ramen was served, Roger saw that naughty boy Taichi secretly looking at him with a strange look. Roger felt uncomfortable being stared at by the naughty child. His appetite was reduced tenfold and he couldn't finish it after one bowl. Ahem, hey, naughty kid, I'm talking about you, come here, Roger pointed at Tai. Hello, guest, what's the matter? The naughty kid blinked and stared at Roger. Why are you staring at me so much that I can't even eat ramen? The naughty boy Tai looked around and saw that his mother was busy and his father was making ramen. No one was looking at them. He whispered like a secret agent. You are the Ultraman who defeated the monsters, right? It must be you, I know it. Ahem, it's not me. It's you, you can't deceive me. The naughty boy Tai said firmly. Roger was helpless as to why children's senses were always so sharp, but it didn't hurt to tell him, because no one would believe him anyway. Okay, I admit it, but don't tell anyone else. Hearing Roger's admission, the naughty kid was overjoyed and nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Yeah, don't worry, uncle, I promise not to tell anyone else. This is a secret between the two of us. What are you calling nonsense? Big brother, I'm still young. How can you be so sure that I am Aotuman? Oh no, the evil Avenger. Wow, it turns out that the robot you transformed into is called the Evil Avenger. It's so cool. In fact, I noticed it from your attitude when eating that day. Tai looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to them, so he continued chatting in a low voice. When the giant beast appeared, it seemed like it was the first time you came to our planet. You had never heard of the giant beast, and the giant beast came. No, you don't take it seriously. You are not afraid of giant beasts at all. I feel that you are not an ordinary person. Later, when my mother and I were in danger, we happened to be rescued. It was such a coincidence that with so many people, it was us who was saved, not you or someone else. Good guy, today's naughty kids are so powerful, and they can be deduced from just a few details. I often watch Conan. The naughty boy raised his chin proudly. Okay, then remember to keep it a secret. Big brother is leaving. See you again in the future. Roger smiled and rubbed the naughty boy's afro. Wait, uncle, let me give you something. The naughty boy Tai ran into the house and after a while, he took out 2 figures and stuffed them into Roger's hands. This is my most precious figure. I give it to you, Taichi and Agumon, who have the same names as me. Uncle, please remember to come and see me when you have time. After saying this, the naughty child felt a little sore and his eyes were red. I know that I felt sad when the figure was given away, but I still couldn't bear to say goodbye to Roger. Roger smiled. System identification, golden item, another figurine that entrusts the light of a child. He quickly accepted it, but it was not his character to take a child's gift for nothing. He took out an ion pistol directly from the space. Yes, it was the one he picked up from the wreckage of the spaceship. With his really fragrant character, ran to pick it up again. Although it is damaged and has no energy, it is still a gun. It is best to give it as a gift. It's for you, take it, remember not to be seen. He stuffed it directly into the naughty child's arms. Tai's eyes lit up when he saw it, and he quickly put it away. He suddenly became less sad, although he didn't know yet that what he had received was an inoperable ion gun. Let's go, remember not to forget to believe in the power of light, and don't call me uncle again. Okay, I remember uncle. Hee, just kidding, remember big brother. Big brother, forget it, let's just treat him as a younger brother, and let the big brother be the big brother. After taking out the remaining yen to pay, Roger waved and walked out of the ramen shop under Taichi's reluctant eyes. He wanted to check if any country here was inventing Gundam, and then repair the wreckage of his own Gundam. Every time I look at the evil Avenger with a missing hand and a big hole, I feel a burst of pain. As long as I remove the power of the enchantment, it will return to the same wreckage. The key is that he is also a scumbag, let alone a scumbag. Even if Tony comes, without a huge military factory, there is no way he can repair this big thing that is meters high. And who knows if the wreckage of my own Gundam is alien technology, and whether humans can repair it with the current level of technology. He inquired about the address of a congressman, used black magic to easily get in, and then used hypnosis to find the information he wanted. Finally walked out with a weird loo. People in this world are so weird. They don't develop Gundam. Are they all using planes to fight monsters? At a multinational conference, the person in charge of the island country was bowing and nodding to apologize. While admitting the bragging incident in the news, he was scolding the spokesperson that day to death. He even bragged that the robot belonged to them. Now the leaders of many countries are putting pressure on them to share technology. He went there to find a Gundam to show them. Of course, people in other countries actually don't believe it, because the robots that suddenly disappear and reappear are obviously not of this world's technology, at least not at this level of technology now. After a long silence, a man with blonde hair in a suit suddenly stood up. To tell you the truth, it is somewhat similar to the mecha project we are developing. Mecha. Yes, we have already started thinking about this problem when the giant beast first appeared. The giant beast is very intelligent. Once it lands in the city, it will inevitably use high-rise buildings as bunkers. It is really not easy to kill it with various missiles. Let it go a little deeper, and destroy at least half of the city to eliminate it. Quote, "We have always felt that we need a robot of the same size as them to block it, but this involves another issue, movement speed. The huge metal robot, which is tens of thousands of tons, cannot be transported by airplane at all. By the time the mecha arrives, the giant beast has already dived into the sea. So research and development has been delayed. Coupled with the long coastline and the huge number of coastal cities, many people think this plan is useless. It is better to deploy a few more aircraft. Knowing its appearance, we felt that maybe this mecha giant came from the future to remind us not to give up this plan." After speaking, the blonde man raised his head and looked at the leaders of other countries, because according to the data, other major countries have done some research on giant robots. But every country is the same. First of all, there is a transportation problem. We can't install a giant mecha in every coastal city, so we haven't solved the transportation problem yet. Giant mechas are always useless. At this time, a person from one of the countries suddenly spoke. The global sonar network technology has been put into preliminary experimental stage. Maybe it can be used. Sonar itself is a way for marine animals to find their way in the deep sea. For example, large whales such as sperm whales and baleen whales go deep into the sea to hunt for food. However, there is no light in the deep sea, and the sunlight cannot reach the deep sea, so vision is completely useless. So how do they hunt? The answer is sonar. They emit ultrasonic waves from their mouths to determine the size and movement trajectory of prey. Does it look familiar? Submarines imitate these marine creatures. In the dark deep sea where nothing can be seen, submarines use sonar to determine the surrounding terrain and the size of the enemy. If you want to avoid sonar detection, unless the giant beasts lie motionless like stones in the deep sea, even if they move, they can cause ultrasonic fluctuations. In this world, ever since giant beasts appeared in the deep sea, scientists from all over the world have begun to gather to develop more advanced sonar to judge and find the giant beasts hiding in the deep sea. Now that the research and development has been completed, it will be put into the oceans all over the earth, so that the giant beasts will have nowhere to hide. With modern submarine technology, it is unrealistic to kill a giant beast in the sea. Although it is impossible to dive into the deep sea and kill them, humans can assemble a mechanized army and ambush them in advance before they dare to appear on land. Upon hearing this good news, all the representatives applauded, especially the big countries, whose coastal cities were suffering terribly when attacked by giant beasts. Next, let's watch a 3-minute edited video before continuing the meeting on the next topic. On a projection, the exciting fight between the evil Avenger and the giant beast that day began to play. When the giant beast landed, there were already many spy satellites in the sky that locked onto its figure and were constantly filming it. In addition, there were always some people on the scene who were not afraid of death, or monitoring on the roadside. The projection is completely divided into two sides, one side is shot by satellites in the sky, and the other side is shot on the ground. Less than 3 minutes after the giant beast landed and the situation was ruined, a mecha giant suddenly appeared on the scene and saved a human mother and son who were about to be trampled to death. It is a giant mecha with a modern science fiction style, but what is puzzling is that the cracks in the joints of the opponent's body are covered with flames. It is a giant robot that combines magic and science fiction style. As soon as the flame mecha appeared, it hit the giant beast and couldn't find the east, west, north, and south. Then, with a series of extremely beautiful movements, it threw the giant beast into the DJ bay. In the end, there was a beautiful backflip, breaking the two legs of the giant beast, and then locking the throat and breaking the neck. It was clean and neat, and the movements were beautiful and full of violent aesthetics. 3 minutes, it ended in less than 3 minutes, and it was still with bare hands. Everyone, do you know what this means? The introducer said excitedly. Countless aircraft, tanks, warships, giant beasts that can only be killed by bombing, a giant mecha, can be defeated in 3 minutes. No, if there are weapons, it might be faster. This shows that large-scale mecha is the most effective way. More importantly, save money. I suggest that we combine existing technologies to jointly accelerate the development of giant mechas. A middle-aged man with white hair stood up and said. We agree, and we are more willing to contribute existing mecha technology. A smiling fat Korean stood up and agreed. Others looked at him with contempt. Who doesn't know that their country has not invested in mecha research and yet contributed technology? So with many votes in favor, the development of large-scale mechas was unanimously decided. What followed was a quarrel over who would pay more and who would do more, and there was a constant bickering. It is estimated that there will be no way to divide it up in a few days and nights. After all, no one wants to contribute their own money and efforts while others sit back and reap the results. Roger didn't know yet that the first appearance of his evil Avenger directly promoted the birth of Gundam in this world. Unfortunately, it was only after the Gundam was born in this world that they realized their mistake. They could defeat the giant beast quickly. There is only one evil Avenger. He was watching the TV news depressedly. On the TV, Sydney was being invaded by an even bigger monster. The planes on the news were bombing the monster indiscriminately without caring about the city's casualties. There is no way, I don't know the time and space magic, it is difficult to go and help. Taj has some magic runes of its own, but that doesn't mean it will work. Each combination of different runes will produce a different spell, just like a program code. I haven't learned it in a systematic way. It's a dream to reverse engineer a complete spell based on a bunch of codes. This made Roger feel extremely sad, and another opportunity to show off was lost before his eyes. At the same time, what made him feel sad was the soul of the giant beast, as if a newborn baby had no impurities and did not need to be digested for a long time like the human soul, and could be directly integrated into it. Oh, why don't there be a few giant beasts coming to the island country anymore? Isn't it said that monsters like to come to the island country to find Ultraman the most? I've been waiting for several days. I couldn't help but go to a custom shop again, but I didn't see the kimono girl Yuriko that day. I asked the store manager and said that she went back to study. As for contact information, their store has a confidentiality agreement and cannot disclose it. I wanted to flirt with other girls, but I couldn't find the feeling, so I gave up. This station's big news is that the global ocean sonar network jointly developed by many countries has been put into use. Now the sea is like land, fully monitored by humans, and the giant beasts will have no way to hide. Next, the host excitedly introduced this ocean sonar network, which is the same as Skynet. According to the latitude of the Earth, it is released in every area, and the world uses ultrasonic waves to detect the sea 24 hours a day, making it impossible for huge monsters to hide. The next report shows the locations where all the monsters are distributed, and the host directly introduces the red dots one by one. These are giant beasts detected by super sonar, and their size is not inferior to that of marine creatures. As we all know, giant beasts are very easy to identify in the deep sea because they are far larger than whales. Currently, the global combined fleet has begun to gather to prioritize the elimination of a single behemoth, but I don't know if they will rescue each other. Located in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, in the Pacific Ocean, warships gathered together. The U.S. military demonstrated the strength of a major military power. After investing in global sonar, it is now able to take the initiative. The only worry is that what if the giant beast cannot be defeated and dives into the deep sea? After all, there are only relatively simple weapons like torpedoes in the sea, and the deeper the sea, the stronger the sea pressure. Ordinary torpedo missiles cannot withstand the powerful deep sea pressure. Therefore, to fight them, they can only be led to land or shallow sea areas, and then the human mechanical army can be assembled to destroy them. In fact, humans have long detected a space-time wormhole in the sea, but there is no way to destroy the wormhole. Fortunately, the consolation is that there seems to be only behemoth invasion on the other side of the wormhole, and no alien fleet or the like is coming. With the current human technology, it is still possible to kill the giant beast. Instead, Roger's evil Avengers appeared and led humans to the giant mecha. Chapter 71. The news reported that there were more than a dozen giant beasts. In fact, in order not to cause panic, the number of giant beasts detected was close to 30. We don't know when more behemoths will come from the wormhole. To be on the safe side, we study giant mechas and do so based on the data of the evil Avengers. On the one hand, directly based on the detected location, the Navy is proactively dispatched to destroy the behemoth. Close to the target is in the sea at a depth of 300 meters. Accepted. Attention all major fleets pay attention. Prioritize the release of jammers to force the behemoth ashore. No one is allowed to open fire until it reaches the shore. Received on the 1 ND. Received on the 2nd. A large number of fleets locked on one of the behemoths. Humanity's technological level exploded on a large scale during the war. Many things were invented based on the behemoth's body and structure. Sonar jammers are one of them. They cannot be seen by the naked eye in the deep sea without light, so they can only use ultrasonic waves to find their way. The same is true for giant beasts. These jammers, in the ears of giant beasts, are as harsh and uncomfortable as a knife scraping glass. They use this to force them ashore, then gather firepower and start bombarding them indiscriminately. Hiss. Sure enough, the giant beasts in the shallow sea couldn't stand the uncomfortable sound, so they swam directly to the land. Once they left the sea, they couldn't hear the unpleasant and harsh ultrasonic waves. The huge size makes people tremble when they step onto the land. The shape has two extremely huge pincers, and the body belongs to a crustacean giant at first glance. The giant crustacean beast is also a giant beast with extremely high defensive power, and the one with two pincers in front of me has a resounding name more than 10 years later, the Devil Witch. It is also the monster that harmed the island country and eventually became the demon of the heroine Asako Mori. The enemy is ashore. Fire! 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 Huge fire dragons flew directly from the battleship floating on the sea, aiming at the demon witch. Rumbling. Boom. 80.00% of human missiles hit the target. These behemoths are so big. After the burning, an unpleasant gas appeared directly in the air, and the soldiers on the fleet were already prepared to wear gas masks. The duty of soldiers is to destroy monsters. Environmental pollution has nothing to do with them. To hell with environmentalists. Ow. After being attacked one after another, the giant beast howled in pain. One of its two large pincers was broken directly, and its body was also mangled, directly exposing the crab meat and bones inside. If they were to attack human cities as usual, due to terrain and other reasons, they would usually only face helicopters and fighter jets flying in the sky. But now, without the city's bunkers, various post-industrial battleships and cruisers directly fired shells with terrifyingly large calibers and hit it hard. No matter how strong the carapace is, it cannot stop all kinds of human thermal weapons, not even nuclear bombs. The giant beast wants to run back into the sea. Quick, get the plane out and execute Plan B. Several fighter jets quickly took off from the aircraft carrier, and then flew directly above the demon witch, launching several ground-penetrating missiles, and the missiles penetrated deeply into its body. Without the strong carapace outside, the earth-penetrating missile could not be stopped by flesh and blood alone. After piercing into the body of the demon witch, the earth-penetrating missile also began to explode. Hidden inside are chemical poisons developed by human biologists based on monster genes. As long as they are living things, cells will inevitably encounter toxic damage, and these chemical poisons were specially developed for them. Because the vitality of the giant beast is too strong, why not use cheap and effective chemical toxins? After a while, the giant beast lay motionless on the broken island. It's dead, haha, we won. Haha, I won. The naval soldiers on the battleship began to revel and threw their hats into the sky. This was the first time that the behemoth was eliminated with 0 casualties. Soon, other countries followed suit and sent fleets to encircle and suppress the giant beasts. Each suffered casualties, but overall, it was still very effective. And when the world's major naval fleets took the initiative to eliminate the giant beasts, they seemed to know something. After wiping out some of them, the giant beast lurked directly into the deep sea, leaving humans stunned. Just when humans were racking their brains and battling wits and courage with the giant beasts, the island nation received bad news. In a conference room in the capital of the island country, the Prime Minister and more than a dozen people from the military and political circles were discussing. What? More than 10 of them. They are coming towards us. Judging from the direction they are heading, it is Mount Fuji. The Prime Minister of the island country was so frightened that his face turned pale. 1 or 2 were fine, but how could he fight so many? Due to historical reasons, their country's military strength has always been monitored and expansion is not allowed, which is easy for soldiers to say. But there are not that many modern mechanical armies such as aircraft, navy, and various tanks. Because the United States refused to let him go, they thought they could protect their little brother and there was a military base in the island country. Therefore, when so many behemoths came to their country at the same time, he was immediately desperate. The behemoths had tenacious vitality and how could they eliminate them if they lacked firepower? Yes, Your Excellency, the U.S. military recommends the use of nuclear bombs. They have them at their military base and can launch them on your behalf. A man with the rank of general said helplessly. Even if it is a nuclear bomb, they did not produce it, it was someone else's. No, absolutely not. We can't let them launch nuclear bombs. If we continue to inform them, even Yusui will have to stop those giant beasts. At this time, a younger man in a suit stood up and said, "Everyone, maybe we don't have to be so desperate, because there is another mecha with an unknown identity in our country." Everyone woke up one after another. You mean Evil Avenger? Businessmen's intuition is the fastest. I don't know when, but a large number of Evil Avengers figures, clothing, and toys have appeared on the street. And this name is said to have been passed down from primary school students. When many primary school students called the unknown giant mecha that way, the businessman also called it that. The protagonist is still in a dark alley, transforming into a beautiful girl, looking for some unscrupulous middle-aged people who are eager for excitement to help him find his wallet. He has no choice but to live in trouble. It was impossible to work part-time, and you couldn't do anything illegal. It would be too derogatory. Apart from looking for your wallet, Roger couldn't think of any other way. Because in this country, black clubs are legal and registered. If you call the police will help protect them. It is illegal to rob them. After much deliberation, I decided to hire a few people to help pick up my wallet, as the money would come quickly. Roger, who was counting his money and walking out of the alley, was stunned for a moment when he saw the news on the advertising screen. A lot of monsters are coming. This is a good thing, but why don't they all land together? How can I fight? I don't know how to use time and space. The speed of the giant beast in the deep sea is actually not slow, but its huge size would be slow if directly converted to the speed of an airplane. When the island country requested military support from other countries, the only answer they received was to ask them to wait patiently. After all, it would take time to rush over. The military is restricted, and now they have to deal with a large number of behemoths, which makes them desperate and resentful of the United States. If they had not restricted their country's military power, they would not be in this situation. In the end, the senior management decided to concentrate their limited power and give priority to destroying the monsters close to DJ, while blocking the monsters in other places if they can, and hiding if they can't be blocked. After the monsters threatening DJ are eliminated, they can then deal with other monsters. There is no other way to let people hide from monsters. It's no wonder that in the second part, the monster ran directly to Mount Fuji, and no army came out to stop it. Then where the hell am I going? Roger took a bucket of popcorn and ate it while watching the news. He originally wanted to leave. but found that there was a large-scale attack by monsters. Then wait until the fight is over before leaving. I feel like the monster is too easy to fight. When the news came out that the monster's target was Mount Fuji and all surrounding residents were asked to evacuate, Roger also knew where to stay. Mount Fuji, that's okay. Then again, why are these giant beasts going to Mount Fuji? To soak in the hot springs. Roger scratched his head, really unable to figure out the reason. The news said that the monster might want to jump into the volcano and then burn itself to pollute the atmosphere, making it uninhabitable for humans. PFF'd, Roger scoffed, there are so many volcanoes on the earth, why would you choose a volcano in a developed country? Undersea volcanoes, not Hawaiian volcanoes. What about the Yellowstone volcano? There are also some small and remote countries that do not have the huge military power to stop the giant beasts. Every time, the giant beasts are bored and return to the sea. Forget it, if you don't think about why the monsters in this world are so weird, using your human brain to think from the monster's perspective will only lower your IQ. Mount Fuji. The crowds are huge. When it comes time to flee, even polite people will panic. When panicked, they will easily not obey the traffic rules, so there will be a long queue in the traffic jam. Originally, Mount Fuji was a tourist destination with a lot of people coming and going. Now suddenly there was news that a monster was coming here. In a panic, everyone scrambled to escape, and suddenly there was a traffic jam. Mom, where are you? Wow, a little kid of 4 or 5 years old was crying alone on the roadside. There were probably too many cars. A large number of car owners who could not escape got out of their cars and walked. The children and their parents were crowded by the crowd. The crowd dispersed. A girl saw it and quickly picked up the child to prevent the child from being trampled by the crowd. At this moment, she still trembled slightly when she saw the trash can and other things on the ground. Boom, boom. There were bursts of huge rumbling sounds, not earthquakes, but vibrations from the giant monster walking. Several monsters appeared at the foot of Mount Fuji at the same time, heading towards the crater in unison. The girl in the white dress just hugged another little loli, collapsed on the ground, and murmured to herself. Who will save us? One of them, a monster with a pointed head, directly grabbed the tiny human on the ground, threw it into his mouth, and chewed it. This spiky monster would have a resounding name more than 10 years later, Sickle Head. The little meat of humans is nothing compared to the animals in the sea, whales. Therefore, monsters usually trample people to death, but rarely eat people, because the meat is not much, it is difficult to digest, and there are too many miscellaneous modern industrial products on them. Taste. But today, for some unknown reason, these landed monsters began to eat people. Sicklehead saw the humans collapsed on the ground, and picked them up one after another and threw them into his mouth. Finally, his huge eyes focused on the girl in the white dress, and she walked over step by step. The girl ran a few steps, then her legs went weak and she collapsed to the ground. The huge body, larger than the prehistoric giant Tyrannosaurus rex, makes the tiny human beings unable to have the slightest thought of resistance, leaving only despair and helplessness. This is also the reason why, more than 10 years later, mecha hunters have so many choices. Faced with prehistoric behemoths, ants who have the courage to resist are not something ordinary people can have. Sister, I'm so scared. The 4 or 5-year-old child hugged the big sister in front of him tightly, crying with runny nose and tears. Don't be afraid, someone will come to save us. Whoa, who's going to save us? The girl looked desperately at the monster that was getting closer and said, yes, who will come to save us? Boom, the thunderous rumble of a locomotive was particularly loud at this time. The girl holding the little loli couldn't help but look towards the roar of the motorcycle, only to see a man in a black windbreaker and sunglasses driving a cool Harley-Davidson motorcycle quickly. I'm here to save you. The motorcycle violated Newton's coffin plate law and braked in seconds to stop firmly beside them. Yuriko, I haven't seen you for a few days. Why are you crying like this? Are you too happy to see Oni-chan? Roger took off his sunglasses and teased with a smirk. Ah, it's you. Why are you here? Yuriko asked in disbelief with her eyes wide open. Roger got out of the car, lifted Yuriko's chin with his index finger, and wiped Yuriko's tears with his other hand. Of course I came to save you. I feel that there is a Snow White here who needs the prince's rescue. The instructions of fate made me come here involuntarily. Also, I like you to call me Oni-chan. Yuriko hesitated to say what she wanted to say. Shish, call me Oni-chan. The anxious girl finally couldn't bear it any longer. The monster is almost at the door. Are you still in the mood to flirt with her? Yuriko shouted, Oni-chan, the monster is behind you. Yuriko, you carry this child and get in the car. You go first. I'll teach this monster a lesson. I don't know how to drive a motorcycle. Yuriko asked anxiously. Seeing the monsters above her getting closer and closer, she was just one step away from raising her foot and trampling them to death. It doesn't matter. This is a mature motorcycle that can drive itself. Just hold it tight. Roger looked up with a smile. This monster was so tall. Finally, the monster discovered that the few tiny humans in front of them did not run away in panic. This time, for some unknown reason, they did not catch them and eat them. Instead, they raised their feet and stamped them down. There is great fear between life and death. Seeing the Tathagata's feet falling from the sky and death coming to herself, Yuriko couldn't help closing her eyes and screaming. What? Yuriko closed her eyes in despair, but the death she imagined had not come. After a few seconds, she couldn't help but open her eyes and took a look, and her jaw almost dropped to the ground. This is Evil Avenger. A huge body, a giant robot no smaller than a monster, full of dual aesthetics of science fiction and magic. The evil mecha with flames all over its body stood firmly in front of them, holding the long scythe head directly with one hand, antenna. The evil Avenger gave Yuriko a thumbs up, and then pointed to the motorcycle nearby. Boom! Flames instantly burst out from the two tires of the motorcycle, and the horn sounded as well, signaling them to get on the train quickly. Yuriko understood instantly, and the fear no longer accompanied her body. She hugged the child and got into the car quickly. Then as soon as she grabbed the front of the car started to drive quickly. Yuriko could only hug the motorcycle tightly with the little loli, for fear of being accidentally thrown off. Since the locomotive was moving by itself, Yuriko hugged the fuselage tightly and couldn't help but turn her head to look at the evil Avenger behind her and shouted loudly. Oni-chan, come on. Roger waved his hand and signaled the motorcycle to take them away quickly. The motorcycle understood instantly. Ouch! The sickle head howled angrily, because this guy suddenly appeared and grabbed its tentacles tightly, making it unable to move. Sickle head could only use his two huge claws to pry away the opponent's hand, but when the flames touched it, he felt a huge burning pain. The sickle head roared, as if shouting like this would give him some courage. He stretched out his claws and stabbed the evil Avenger. Unfortunately, its claws seemed a bit short and couldn't reach it. Scream, scream, call me a hammer. Roger controlled the evil Avenger, threw the sickle head directly over his shoulder, and threw it to a place with fewer people. A huge earthquake sounded directly. The earth was cracked by the gravity of tens of thousands of tons, and the surrounding soil splashed high like a tsunami. After knocking the sickle head to the ground, he directly stepped on its tentacles with one foot and broke off its sharp and long tentacles hard. Roar! The blue blood kept swaying, and the sickle head howled in pain. It went crazy and wanted to pounce on and bite the evil Avenger. Boom! A heavy uppercut hit the sickle head's chin out of position, making it dizzy and suspicious of the beast. Jump up, perform a roundhouse kick in midair, and use the weight of your whole body and the blessing of skills to directly hit the head of the sickle head. The human skull is the hardest part of the skeleton, and the same is true for the sickle head, but the bone was still dented directly by this huge blow. While the other person was dizzy, he stepped forward and grabbed its head, making his eyes look at you. Eye of Judgment. It is not easy to kill a giant beast with the Eye of Judgment, because it is too big and easy to struggle, so you can only knock it out first and make it unable to move before using it. After looking at the Eye of Judgment, sickle head's soul was instantly ignited. Although the newly born life has a powerful body, its soul is always weak and pitiful. After its soul is ignited, it will definitely die. The sickle head immediately stopped moving, and then lay on the ground. A lot of heat and smoke came out of the body, and after a while, it slowly turned into a mummy. The evil Avenger looked up and saw that there were 7 or 8 others, all of whom were taken care of together. He glanced around, raised his big feet, and ran quickly. Suddenly there was another rumbling earthquake, and he headed towards Mount Fuji along the way. A 4-eyed man lying in the ruins, holding a camera, stared blankly at the leaving giant mecha, and suddenly woke up after being stunned for a while. He directly dialed the number of the TV station. Moses, is it TV station XX? I have the latest news here. The one who fights monsters is the evil Avenger, that mysterious Ultraman-like mecha. Yes, it's very exciting. The angle is very good. Good. Then after hanging up the phone, Cian shouted happily, I'm going to publish the exclusive news, ha 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 ha, it's enough for me to stay at home for another year and a half. After being happy for a while, I suddenly woke up and looked at my ruined home. I felt like crying without tears because it was destroyed by a monster. But soon some optimists started to giggle and turned on the camera to enjoy the wonderful scene they recorded of the evil Avenger fighting monsters. 1 minute. No, 1 second. It took such a short time to kill a giant beast. Roger's fast running speed still attracted the attention of the monsters, because they can swim fast in the sea, which does not mean they can move fast on land. As a kind of war beast, both sea and land systems are already perfect. It is unrealistic to expect them to be more perfect and move as fast as humans on land. What attracted even more attention were the humans hiding around them. When the extremely frightened humans saw a humanoid mecha that was as huge as a monster, they all aroused great hope. Mom, is that Ultraman? A child holding an Ultraman doll pulled his parents' hands and pointed at the running evil Avenger. That's not Ultraman, it's a mecha. Well, that's right. The boy's mother said. After all, it appeared out of thin air and disappeared mysteriously. Isn't this the same as Ultraman? The little boy looked at the toy in his hand and suddenly felt that it didn't taste good. He wanted to buy the same one, so he just threw Ultraman away. Why didn't Ultraman come to save them? Compared to the slow crawling or walking of monsters, the evil Avengers who can run are obviously countless times faster. Even when they reached the mountain, the monsters still didn't climb up, so Roger had to control the Avengers to lie on the ground out of boredom. I touched my body and found no cigarettes. What should I do if I become addicted to cigarettes? At this time, a TV station's interview helicopter flew directly over in the distance. Since the monsters have not appeared in flying types until now, the interview they were doing was still very safe. Of course, the premise is not to fly too low, otherwise a stone thrown by a monster can hit you down. Hello everyone, I am Yazzie, a reporter from NHK TV station. We are currently on Mount Fuji, filming the mysterious mecha that just suddenly appeared. A beautiful female reporter was doing a live broadcast on the helicopter, and next to her were the pilot and photographer. They all looked at the humanoid mecha in the distance with excitement. This is the first mecha to appear in the world. Although there have been reports in the past that many major countries are researching large machines to fight giant monsters, with humanoid mechas as the main body, but due to transportation problems, the decision has never been finalized. After all, no transport aircraft can carry a giant robot made of steel. Which country has the luxury of carrying one in every city? What we are shooting now is the mecha that suddenly appeared. Wait, what is the other person doing? Is that smoking? Back before the media helicopter arrived, Roger felt bored, so he uprooted a tree, stripped off the branches, lit a fire and hung it in his mouth like a cigarette, and lay on the ground with his legs crossed, waiting for the monsters. He didn't even need a lighter, he just put it directly to the evil spirit fire on his body, lit it, and the fire came out. Look, everyone, the evil Avenger seems to be smoking. Roger. Ahem, he quickly put out the cigarette, which affected his image, and immediately stood up. By this time, the monsters were almost gathered. Ouch! Roar! Continuous roars came from all around. Instead of walking all the way, they were advancing towards Roger in an outflanking direction. Good guy, the monsters actually know the art of war. Roger murmured, but it doesn't matter, no matter how much, it's just a gift. I just harvested one, and now there is enough energy to sustain it for a few more minutes. Music, Roger took out a speaker and placed it in the cab. He was able to use magic to control the damaged wreckage of the Gundam. So it wouldn't be a problem to have some music. It can only be used in the background music of BMG. Show the strongest combat effectiveness. The battle song played is Sold Out, which is also a BMG that is particularly powerful for fighting. I ain't like no one you met before. Boom. At this time, several fighter jets in the sky arrived belatedly. At this time, the island country's air force was restricted by the United States due to its limited military strength. They had no choice but to concentrate their national military power to attack others. In the process of these birds rushing to Mount Fuji, 4 or 5 of them were actually wiped out at sea. One of the fighter jets reported directly to the command center what they were seeing. The command center found that there are 9 monsters gathered in Mount Fuji. In addition, there is also the mysterious giant mecha, the evil Avenger. Please give instructions. Baga, you don't have to ask, give me a hard blow. Except for the evil Avenger's mecha, put all the firepower on the monsters and kill one first. Received, all team members will obey the order and attack the thin monster at the bottom with me first. Listen clearly, it's the thin monster, like a tree man. Received by machine no. 2. Received by machine no. 3. Received. The thin-looking monster at the scene was named Karloff a few years later. It was a bit like Groot in Marvel. Its skin looked like a tree. It later died in the first-generation prototype. Mecha, the data is unknown, but it is considered weak. It has to be said that soldiers' combat intuition is still very accurate. It is better to cut off one of the 10 fingers than to injure them. Instead of injuring every monster but not dying, it is better to focus on killing one first. The one chosen happened to be the weakest one. A large number of missiles flew towards Karloff in an instant. The flames spurted out by the huge explosion instantly buried Karloff's whole body. The other monsters began to run around the evil Avenger, trying to tear the first mecha that appeared in the world into pieces. Roger curled his lips. Beasts are always beasts, and they are completely incomparable with human fighting wisdom. The evil Avenger rushed past one of the monsters that seemed to be the fastest and most agile. As it approached the opponent opened its big mouth and wanted to bite it. Hee, I hope the audience won't blame me for my dirty tricks, as long as I can win. Roger spilled a bunch, mud, or just sand in their eyes, was held in their hands in advance. The foreign object immediately entered the monster's eyes, and it could no longer be seen in an instant. This is not in the sea. Their sonar is completely useless and they can only rely on vision to fight. It is estimated that the aliens who produced these biological weapons never considered how they would fight when sand was spread on land and their eyes could not open. While the monster was roaring and unable to see the east, or west, Roger kicked it over and fell into the arms of another giant beast. The invisible monster was in a frenzy. It felt an enemy close to its body and immediately bit the opponent cruelly. After a few bites, it was discovered that it was the same kind. Ignoring these two, the Avengers controlled by Roger had already run out of the circle of monsters and came to the last one. This one jumped up and rushed towards the Avenger. Roger controlled the Avenger to turn over and avoid it, and then grabbed its tail behind the opponent. Call out. Several sounds of piercing the air suddenly flew towards the evil Avenger, and there were several bone spurs, but these sneak attacks could not hit Roger. The difference between him and the mecha hunter is that he doesn't need to rely on the various cameras and radars of the machine to observe his surroundings. The evil Avenger is as flexible as his body. He directly grabbed the monster and blocked it in front. Several huge bone spurs were inserted directly into its body, causing it to scream in pain, but it soon became unable to scream because the evil spirit Avenger locked its neck. Then twist it hard and click. After the huge noise, the monster lay softly on the ground motionless. However, its strong vitality did not prevent it from dying immediately, and its eyes were still looking around. It's dead, it's dead. Look, viewers in front of the TV, he took action and killed one in less than one turn, cleanly and neatly, like a special forces soldier who easily broke the monster's neck. In the helicopter in the sky, a beautiful reporter was live broadcasting excitedly, but the island country didn't know what it was thinking, but it didn't stop the TV station from broadcasting live. Thousands of people from island countries, including the technical departments of many overseas countries, are watching this duel. They want to obtain the data of this mysterious mecha. 1, and 8 more. Roger licked his lips. Come on, baby. At this time, one of the monsters in the distance started a long-range attack again, shooting out several huge bone spurs. Wojo, come back. He kicked the monster's body away with force, blocked the bone spurs, flew over and hit the opponent, and then Roger ran away. Why did he run away? I am not wrong, right? The beautiful host looked at the scene in front of her with a confused face. Because the evil Avenger was running away, was her jaw dropped. At this time, the remaining monsters roared and chased after them. However, the speed of many monsters on land varied, and one of them was faster than the others. Until he was almost close to the evil Avenger, he was suddenly stopped by the opponent, and then a handful of soil that he didn't know when he was holding in his hand was thrown out from his hand. This is like sand to them, but it is very uncomfortable if it falls into their eyes. They cannot fight with hearing and smell alone, and they are not martial arts masters. Unless in water, they can also use ultrasonic sonar to locate themselves. Sorry to the viewers in front of the TV, it turns out that the evil Avenger is not running away, he is using tactics, but this tactic is a bit. The monster was temporarily blinded by the sand. Before it could regain its sight, Roger brutally inserted 2 fingers of the evil Avenger into the opponent's eye sockets and dug hard, completely blinding him. Ouch, the pain of blindness made this monster completely crazy. It waved its claws and tail to attack everywhere, but Roger easily dodged it. Tactics. What a fart tactic. Roger was in a life and death duel, and he didn't care about means. In nature, terrestrial creatures rely on their eyes to explore the environment. The reverse is true for marine life, because the deeper you go into the sea, the less light you can see. Those who have lived in the deep sea for a long time have basically lost their vision. Sperm whales, baleen whales, etc. are all myopic, and their vision has deteriorated. Instead, the sonar system emits ultrasonic waves from the mouth to catch prey, but the sonar in the water and the ground are completely different structures. Because these monsters are biological weapons and their vision has not deteriorated, when they were born, they did not consider how to fight on land if they were blind. Anyone who has been watching the animal world for many years knows that the second African brother's special skill is to ejaculate, and human gangsters who fight all the time also know that when they hit someone, they need to choke someone, insert an eye, and kick him. Roger discovered this problem when he killed the first one, so he easily defeated both of them. As for the disgraceful means, it doesn't matter. It's not a duel between knights. He didn't see so many monsters attacking him in a group. Woolen cloth. The next scene stunned some scientists and soldiers around the world. So you can still fight monsters like this. A black soldier was muttering to himself, standing in a huge base and watching TV. Next to him was the first-generation giant mecha that had taken shape. If nothing goes wrong, this person will be dispatched to serve at a US military base in the island country a few years later, and then save a little girl in red during a battle. Although the black man's face was expressionless, his eyes looked feverishly behind him at a mecha as huge as a monster. This was the man who was about to fight beside him. The opponent can easily defeat so many monsters, and so can he. And judging from the mecha's skills, it is obvious that the opponent has the fighting skills of a street gangster, and he will definitely be stronger than him. The first-generation mecha that is being assembled has actually basically taken shape, but the weapons are still under constant development, because in order to supply weapons for Meter Robot, everything from the mold to the tiniest screw needs to be customized. More importantly, the pilot of the mecha needs to be tested first to determine which weapons are ultimately suitable for use on the mecha. It is impossible for the military to let the mechas that cost a lot of money go into battle with bare hands like the evil Avengers. That would be no different than sending someone to death. The Black Colonel watched the bloody battle on TV with a fighting spirit. It's almost ready, wait for me. Roar, another side head howled in pain, because the pointed tentacles on its head were broken off by the evil Avenger. After breaking, the evil Avenger did a backflip, directly avoiding the attack of a giant beast, and came behind the monster. Drink, secret skill, 1,000 years of killing. The evil Avenger inserted the tentacles of the newly folded sickle head deeply into the monster's anus. The monster, whose back door was exploded, let out a wail of extreme pain, lost its mind, and directly attacked the monsters around it. At this time, a monster with 3 forked tails finally found an opportunity and directly used its 3 huge tails to tightly entangle the evil Avenger. Oops, the operation is stuck. The viewers in front of the TV were all sweating. How could the mecha escape from its body being tied up? If people 10 years from now see this monster, they will know that it has a resounding name, Venomous Woman, and is a monster with a 5th level title. It is also the only one that can command level 4 monsters. Its forked tails make it extremely agile in the sea. On land, the long tail also makes it look like it has several extra arms. The current monsters still don't know that the mecha's cockpit is its weak point. They all think that the other party is a giant creature like them. Therefore, after sacrificing the three-headed monster, the poisonous woman finally found the opportunity to tie up the evil avenger. The poisonous woman roared at a monster in the distance. The monster understood instantly, leaned down and opened its big mouth. There was a big poison sac-like thing under its mouth, and it was emitting a burst of energy. A ray of blue light. Roger was in the cockpit. After a closer look, he remembered, isn't this the one that likes to spit, the tailed rat? What the other party sprays out is a highly concentrated sulfuric acid. If it is touched, it will be terrible. It will not kill you but also severely maim it. It is a super strong acid comparable to the abnormal sulfuric acid. Is this the end? The Black Major looked at the TV with a disappointed look on his face. This mecha was called the Evil Avenger and was as mysterious as Ultraman. Hiss. Sure enough, the tailed rat ejected a large wave of blue acid. It seemed that the poisonous woman planned to sacrifice her tail to make the Evil Avenger drink it. Ouch! The poisonous woman who tied up the Evil Avenger screamed in pain. Although she knew that she was sideways and not behind Roger, so she didn't have to worry about being exposed to strong acid, but the pain of having her tails cut off was still painful. It was excruciatingly painful. Where are the people? The female reporter on the helicopter asked the photographer with a confused look. Why did the person suddenly disappear? The photographer also looked confused. I don't know, he just disappeared suddenly. Then, with their suspicious looks on their faces, the Evil Avenger suddenly appeared again, directly inserted his eyes into the poisonous woman with both hands, and destroyed her. It turned out that just now Roger had learned how to put the mecha back into the storage space. After it suddenly disappeared, the strong acid of the tailed rat was naturally empty, and it caught the poisonous woman's tail instead. Then he released the mecha and directly gave the poisonous woman an eye-piercing weapon. The poisonous woman, who had lost her sight, still relied on her sense of smell to know that the Evil Avenger was beside her, and then launched a frantic attack on her surroundings. Die! He turned around and came to the back of the poisonous woman, jumped up with a knee, and hit her cervical spine accurately. After a huge click, the poisonous woman completely lost her mobility, but her tenacious vitality kept her alive for a short time. Then he rushed forward and faced the two monsters coming towards him, which were two handfuls of sand. The angry monsters knew how to close their eyes this time. When they opened their eyes again, another one was killed on the spot. In the same way, Roger slashed the gap between the cervical joints with a hand knife. As if killing a chicken, every monster that faced the Evil Avenger was dealt with in 1 or 2 rounds, chopping up the melons and chopping vegetables. More importantly, still empty-handed. Look at me, babies. The Evil Avenger opened his eyes directly, and the Eye of Judgment was also attached to the Gundam mecha by Roger. Because the Ghost Rider is too small, the monster's eyes may not be visible. As soon as the two monsters opened their eyes, they saw 2 extremely hot flames in the eyes of the Evil Avenger. After the fierce battle, everything is over. In the bedroom, Roger having good time with Yuriko. The girl in kimono beside her had already fallen asleep from exhaustion. The opponent's flushed face was covered with sweat. After a long night of fighting, his complexion became even more rosy and his skin looked like gelatin. But Roger, who has fully attained enlightenment at this moment, is unmoved. God loves the world. He loves millions of people in the world at this moment, not just one of them. He got up and went straight to the bathroom to take a shower, then dug out a new quilt and sheets, and brought a towel and a basin of water over. After scrubbing the exhausted girl clean, she took off the sheets and threw them in the washing machine to be washed tomorrow. After pouring a glass of water for the other party and taking it over, the girl was so moved that she almost promised her body again. Fortunately, Roger had no distracting thoughts at this moment. After the other party finished drinking the water, he hugged the soft and waxy body and slept until dawn. The next day, it was another sunny morning. When the sun shone into the room and woke Roger up, the girl made of water in the bed had long disappeared. Beside the bed, there was a set of clean pajamas. Roger didn't mind it and put it on directly. When I walked out of the bedroom, I realized that the girl was preparing breakfast. The smell of breakfast came from the dining table, and the girl was drying the washed clothes and quilt in the yard outside. Hey, Oni-chan, you're awake. Yuriko couldn't help but blush when she saw Roger looking at the clothes and quilts in the yard. I've made breakfast and it's ready to eat. Yeah, let's eat together. Roger smiled, and the girl's face turned redder. She seemed to have remembered something, and her ears were red. Will you stay here in the future? The two were eating breakfast, and Yuriko suddenly asked a question that she had wanted to ask for a long time. I may leave here in the next 2 days. To be honest with you, Yuriko, I am not from this world. Roger told the truth. It was impossible to stay here for the rest of his life. He still wanted to go back to the previous world and take risks. The world is always the best for you. Is that so? In fact, I also guess that Oni-chan is definitely not from our world, because there is no giant like Ultraman in our world, hehe. Surprisingly, the girl did not cry and beg her not to leave her like a TV heroine. Instead, she felt extremely happy that the two of them were freed this time. Then, before you go back, stay at my house, taste my cooking skills, and take a look at the beautiful scenery of Mount Fuji. The girl asked expectantly, is that okay? I can't ask for. I don't know what Yuriko's parents do for a living, but they didn't go home for several days, so Roger just lived there like a man. However, considering that the island country is now experiencing a war and the entire country has been severely damaged, it is not surprising that many places are working overtime. Because Mount Fuji encountered a monster war, there were no tourists in the scenic area. Yuriko happily took Roger to climb the mountain and enjoy the beautiful scenery of the snow-capped mountains. It's a pity that the cherry blossom blooming season is relatively short. Otherwise, admiring the flowers and snow in the snow-capped mountains, accompanied by beauties and drinking a few glasses of soju, would really be one of the great romances in life. Traveling to the snowy mountains during the day, soaking in hot springs at night, and tasting Yuriko's various cooking skills for 3 meals, and at night, she invited Yuriko to taste her own cooking skills in bed, which was a joy to behold. Finally, on the 5th day, Roger looked at the ceiling with dull eyes and decided to say goodbye to Yuriko. Men only know the importance of self-care after they are in their 30s, and with his experience in his previous life, Roger knew how to take care of himself from the developmental stage on in this life. In the early morning of the next day, not only was the girl too tired to sleep, but Roger also almost got out of bed and slipped. Before leaving, he gave her his motorcycle as a souvenir, and secretly vowed to get more gifts in the future, otherwise it would be unreasonable to have no gifts. After Roger left, the girl in bed opened her eyes and looked out the window with a sad face. She knew that the man who was just like the light was gone. I'm finally back this time, it seems right. When he started the time travel controller for the second time, Roger remembered a sentence. It was the female judge of the Time Management Bureau who said something. The other party once said that Roger was guilty of time L1129, so Roger entered according to that code, and it was indeed correct, and he came back directly. Picking up a newspaper discarded on the roadside, it was written about last week's news. Stark's building was decorated, and Roger knew that he was back in his own timeline. I just don't know how long this time controller can last. Roger looked at it and saw that there was still 1/3 of the power left. How to charge this thing after it runs out of power? It's not like a mobile phone charger can replenish energy, right? That was too cheap. Roger thought of another possibility, which was whether the time stone was used as a battery to charge. Because there were so many infinite gems in the time administration, it only makes sense to travel through the timeline and use the time power of the time stone as energy. I wonder if Ji is willing to borrow the stone. I stood on the side of the road, stretched out my thumb and waved a few times, but still couldn't get a taxi. Finally, I bent my back and lay on the side of the road with my eyes blank, leaning against a stop sign and looking at the sky. After waiting for a while, a passing cold chain truck stopped, the window rolled down, and a black man wearing sunglasses asked Roger. Hey, do you need help? Where are you going? I'll give you a ride if you want. Roger was overjoyed. There are not many good people these days, especially black good people. It is rare to meet one. Great, thank you man. I'm going to New York. By the way, I don't have any money on me. I only have some Japanese yen. I can give it to you if you don't mind. The black man waved his hand. No, get in the car, but you can only sit in the back. Roger took a closer look and saw that there was an Asian companion in the other party's car. It didn't matter, he could just take the carriage. He came down and opened the carriage and motioned for Roger to get in. After getting in, Roger realized that it was full of people, all fellow countrymen. Ah, what is this for? There were a lot of people, all Asians and a few Mexicans, all sitting in the cold chain truck. Bah! As soon as Roger got in the car, the door was immediately closed by Lao He and locked with a click. Wouldn't he be sent to have his waist cut off? Roger thought for a while and asked the people in the car to find out. Hey, fellow, where are you from? Roger asked in Chinese. %# at asterisk and amp, and amp. The other party responded, but Roger couldn't understand it. I asked another one, but he still didn't understand, but Roger understood. These people were Asians from small countries around Southeast Asia, not fellow villagers. There were also a few Mexicans who asked me in English and they understood. It turns out that this group of people are here to find high-paying jobs. As the saying goes, they are all working for free. Roger scratched his head. It turned out that he wasn't the one who had his waist cut off. That would be fine. He understood the high-paying job. After all, who doesn't want to have more money for his own money? I said hello to two of the half-Asian fellows, took out my Japanese currency and gestured with them, and then got a good place to sleep. The air conditioning of the cold chain truck was on, neither high nor low. It was just right and comfortable to fall asleep in the car. After a while, I fell asleep with my eyes squinted. The two people in the car looked happy and took out 2 cans of beer to toast. Hey, here comes another one. Lao He took a sip and hummed happily. The extra money will be half for each of us, said Yaji with glasses on the side. That's not okay. I found him and tricked him into getting into the car. The money is mine. Lao He shook his head, unwilling to give a penny to the other party, even if it was a companion. The companion who wore glasses and had a sinister look on his face rolled his eyes. This guy really didn't know how to behave. Aren't you afraid of something happening? This person is obviously not an illegal immigrant. He should be a normal citizen or a green card holder. Hey, what are you afraid of? Even the devil can't stop me from worshipping money. If Roger hadn't slept yet, after hearing these words, he would have known that these two people were not honest contractors. After all, they were the ones who cut the waste, not the traffickers. Roger was lying in the cold chain car, which was also covered with some straw. It was very comfortable to lie down and enjoy the air conditioning, because the weather outside was hot. Hey, wake up, a kind-hearted Mexican man woke Roger up directly. Yeah, have you arrived in New York? Roger rubbed his eyes. He felt very comfortable after sleeping, and his body, which had been drained by the girl, also recovered a lot of strength. No, they said let us rest here for one night and start again tomorrow. Roger got out of the car and looked around. An abandoned mine in the wilderness, I don't know how many years ago. There are several shabby houses and warehouses next to it. There is a pitch-black forest all around. In addition to the cries of insects, there are also some faint beast-like cries from time to time, which reminds people of the movie Silent Hill. 2 foremen were directing the workers to get out of the car. At the same time, they told them that there was water and food in the warehouse, and told them to eat by themselves and come to pick them up tomorrow. One of the middle-aged Mexican men asked them uneasily where they were going. The contractor replied that they were going to refuel and find a comfortable hotel to bathe, sleep and eat. So it was inconvenient to take them with me. After all, there were so many people working secretly, and the hotel owner would definitely call the police if he saw them. Everyone reluctantly accepted this statement and moved into a simple warehouse. To Roger's surprise, the warehouse was quite well maintained. There was also a TV. Since he couldn't understand what others were saying, Roger had to go with the Mexican guy who knew English. After sitting in the car for a long time, many people were hungry and tired, so they went straight into the warehouse and started getting food. The food is very simple, just fermented vacuum-packed bread like big bricks, and mineral water. Many people grabbed 2 at a time, with no idea of distribution. Roger curled his lips and found a comfortable place to lean on. He had just eaten and drank so much at the girl's house for a few days that he couldn't eat the bread that looked harder than bricks. Here, the Mexican man handed Roger a bottle of water directly and smiled. I see you're not very hungry, drink some water. Another kind-hearted person. There are so many kind-hearted people these days. Roger was moved and took the water. Thanks, my name is Roger. Man, what's your name? The middle-aged man took a sip of mineral water and smiled. Rad Sherbedzega, just call me Rad. I came from the Mexican border and came here to work and see if I can make some money. Get the money, settle here, and take your children over to live here. How about you? Me, my car was given away, so I walked home. I waited for a long time for a ride on the way, but no one was willing to give me a ride. Fortunately, I met the driver of this car. Not only did he give me a ride for free, but he also gave me a lift. No charge. You're such a kind-hearted person. Good Samaritan. For some reason, Lad, a middle-aged Mexican man, frowned after hearing this. Those guys are vampires, and they will never help others without money. When we came, someone had a fever, and they were unwilling to help buy some fever-reducing medicine without money. Moreover, we were stowaways, and they were willing to let us. It's a little strange when you get in the car. Roger scratched his head, and it seemed to make sense. Isn't it necessary for illegal drivers to keep things secret? They let him get on the bus halfway, so he wasn't afraid that he would get off the bus later and call them to report them. Don't you want to send yourself to have your waist cut off? Then you will be excited. Roger and Lad chatted for a while, and the other party talked about his situation while eating hard brick bread. It's just that they are too chaotic. The children are either engaged in pornography, gambling, drugs, etc., or they will grow up to be uneducated and at the bottom of society. His grandfather is like this, his father is like this, and he is like this. Therefore, he wanted to change the fate of his family and let his wife take care of the children at home. He spent a lot of money and bought a ticket from the smuggler to sneak across the border between Mexico and MI. It is no longer news that smuggling across the Mexican border is common. It has even formed an industrial chain. Otherwise, how would the white powder produced in this country be transported to the United States every year? There are several types of smuggling. One is to pull you over and not bury you, and it's over after you are sent across the border. The other is the highest level, which is to pull you over and help you contact a migrant agency, which means sending you to a big city. Do a casual job. Capital pursues profit, and those businesses with small capitals like this kind of workers very much. After all, the salary they pay may only be half or one-third, and they don't even need to buy Social Security or anything like that. There is no need to worry that workers will always seek support from labor unions, so labor agencies have an interest relationship with these small businesses. They even pay agency fees on both ends, eat lads, and then eat from small merchants. Black magic is good, it even saves wages, tisk tisk. Roger looked at the dozen goblins who appeared in front of him with delight. Not only did these wandering miners not need to pay, but they could also dig big and round holes. It's just that big, you know. It must be 5 or 6 meters deep, and the walls must be wide at the bottom and sloping up to ensure that people who fall can't climb up. Okay, let's go. Remember to do a better job of disguising yourself so they don't see it. Then Roger waved his hand and asked these goblins to go out to work and dig more holes, of course to make it less easy for their CS attackers to come over. Let them rescue the hostages. What a fool is a defender. After thinking about it, Roger rolled his eyes, smiled, and thought of a good idea. I haven't had a chance to practice the projection spell I learned from the 10,000-year-old Loki, so I'll try it today. After a few spells and gestures, a shadow clone appeared that looked just like the real one. Ahem, please. The projection blinked and said charmingly, look at me, I guarantee that they will be fascinated. Hey hey hey. Before Roger traveled through time, there was a girl named Savannah. She acted as an elf character and was called the most beautiful elf. With her exquisite appearance and facial features, coupled with her devilish figure, she can be called a beauty in the world. Finally, with the addition of costumes and props that are made of extremely few materials, it makes men unable to stop. Thinking back to those days, Roger couldn't sleep at night, couldn't eat properly, and tossed and turned every night. He could only go to sleep after picking up her photo and dreaming about creating her and hugging him to sleep. Its charm was so great that in this era before the internet had fully matured, Roger couldn't believe that anyone had seen an alien beauty more beautiful than an elf girl. 3 troubled youths in camouflage uniforms were slowly sneaking towards the warehouse. They were equipped with the most advanced equipment, including night vision goggles. They planned to join a group of unarmed workers in this magical outfit. Game of chicken. Cheating in games is not that extreme. You use a gun and they use rocks to fight with you. And among these 3 people, there is actually a woman, that Carmela. These second-generation chicken eaters are quite cautious and know how to use the team situation to imitate the real battlefield. Hey, there seems to be someone in front of me, haha, the first prey is mine. In the small team, a 1.9-meter tall man was the first to spot the figure in front of him and hurriedly rushed forward with a gun in hand. Wait, you idiot, another man followed quickly. Carmela, who was behind, cursed a few times, but still followed. After getting closer, she found that her companion was standing stupidly, not aiming and shooting with a gun. Hey, Graham, why are you stupid, standing? Less than 20 meters away from them, there was an extremely beautiful girl standing, as if she was not from the human world. The delicate and divine facial features, coupled with the devil's figure, but the most terrible thing is the white tulle skirt that looks like a medieval nobleman, half covered and half exposed, but it does not look vulgar at all. Sacred and inviolable, yet overly coquettish and beautiful, like the poisonous apple in the Garden of Eden, exuding an alluring sweet scent. The other party opened his innocent eyes wide, as if he was surprised by their arrival. In order to be more realistic, Roger also thoughtfully added a faint light around her body so that others could see it more clearly. Bah, ah, there was a gunshot, and the elf girl screamed, covering the bleeding wound on her shoulder and running away. Carmela, who asked you to shoot? The 2 young men looked angrily at the female teammate who was blowing the gun. HMPH, don't forget what you are here for. Can't you walk after seeing a woman? In the wilderness. Fake, you 2 idiots. It turned out that before Carmela could speak, 2 male teammates who looked like pig brothers had already chased her out. They wanted to capture the elf girl alive, whether she was a human or a ghost. You 2 idiots will be eaten by the devil sooner or later. Carmela was so angry that she had to leave alone. She felt that she was not jealous, but that it was too strange for such a beautiful woman to appear in this wilderness, so it took just 1 shot to kill her. 2 gun-wielding young men, with a look on their faces like rice bugs, ran after the elf girl. After chasing each other, the 2 of them screamed and fell into a deep pit with a bang. When the elf girl saw the 2 pig brothers falling into the deep pit dug by the goblins, she smiled charmingly and said, "It's done." Hey, why is your hand injured? Roger walked out and asked curiously, there are still people who don't fall for the beauty trap. Hey, don't talk about it. There is a female gangster. She is probably she shot me when she saw me. If I hadn't been able to hide quickly, she would have hit me on the head. That's it, it's okay. Just wait and watch me use my beauty trick to deal with her. Roger began to recite the spell, and after a while, another projection clone came out. Roger specially gave him a handsome face. In an instant, a tender little plum, about 18 to 20 years old, who has fascinated thousands of girls, appeared. Hey, I'm leaving. Hey, heal my hand before you leave. Roger stared at it for a long time and said, Hey, no, you are more attractive this way, go ahead. The clone of the elf girl with the projection spell rolled her eyes, cursed and got up and left. Roger was walking on the road and thought about it. Old Loki's structure and imagination were still too small. This aspect still depends on the netizens in his previous life. A projection clone spell that can deceive Thanos just as well as a physical one. How unbelievable it is, Loki himself didn't realize it. Suppose you go undercover into a gang, and finally replace all the people except the boss with their own projection clones, and they are all undercover. It would feel very cool. The entire Avengers, except Iron Man, are all undercover. Are you brave enough to go directly to Hollywood and open a Regent Hotel? Then thousands of beauties appear, including the cleaners, who all have top-notch celebrity faces. They directly ask customers whether they want local or European products, and the business is still rolling in. However, it is not necessary to make money like this. After all, they are all their own clones. It would be nice to experience a fair-skinned and beautiful female ticket customer, but a group of men would. Roger shook his head and threw away those ideas of making money that were bending him. Hobbies cannot be thrown away. This is the principle. He was going to meet this group of chicken-eating players who were full and had nothing to do, and by the way, he was going to experiment with the projection spell that he had exchanged from old Ginger Loki. After thinking about it, he created 2 more projection clones, the 2 pig brothers who fell into the pothole. You know what to do. Roger chuckled. Hey, I understand, we are all undercover. Understood, stay undercover until you become the boss. Hey hey hey, I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.